listening to Kate of Gaia on Critical Mass Radio. The game is up. Now, it's our turn.
Hey, good evening and welcome to Outside the Box. Yours truly, Kate of Gaia, which is the spirit of yang-yin versus yin-yang. Time to flip it from 69 instead of eating each other out, for crying out loud. Let's go back to back on this one, and we got our guards up with 96. Spin it out, babies. Spin it out. I wrote a little piece today, and I don't know how to spit out any simpler. I really don't. And still, be simple, but put enough information in it that will at least get people to have a look. You see, this is the problem. Oh, by the way, I should mention it is Outside the Box, of course, and the voice lower than boobs would indicate for any new listeners. How do you term it? Voice is lower than boobs would indicate. Chick with a dick. I don't care what you call it. I just call it balanced. That's kind of where I live, right? So, gender, tranny, whatever. Who cares? Get the message. Never mind the messenger. You're all distracted. All right. So it makes it a lot more entertaining, I think. But there you have it. Anyway, I can't make it any simpler. I really can't. I don't know what is left to write in regards to this illusion and the dark principalities thereof and the real game that we're being played by instead of playing. And this is what, guys, I've been getting hammered. This is how I know the system is shitting itself. And every one of these false contacts that comes in through Facebook requests is an open artery I am feeding all of the reverse into their system. So thank you to all the shills for opening up that main line so that I can get that Trojan horse in and poison you to fucking death with the truth. And that's the joy of this. When you understand what's really going on, look at the desperation of the system and all the getting everybody riled up and fear porn, and it all is sheer and utter desperation of this distraction and that distraction, all in the literal. And there are those of us that, well, sorry, I'm not playing 3-card Monty with a fucking crook, especially a dead one with no life that is pretending to be consciousness. And that's all it is. So, it's a thought that counts, isn't it? So I'm going to take the thought, all those nasty little thoughts, and just destroy them. I don't care if they're in the form of a meat stick or not. It's irrelevant to me. It's time to separate the wheat from the chaff. And considering that we're at a grand or cardinal cross right now, it's almost magical how this stuff just shows up when you need it to. Actually, I knew about that. And this is the fact that the balance of the Trinity is come in. You see it played out in the allegorical, literal world. Dia, of course, in Dia, in God, right? On Dia, or I would say on Tia, right? Tiamat, right? Let's put it all together. Passed legislation which mimics universal law. Sorry, it's just a mimic. It's a copy of the right, copyright. That's why these bioborgs haven't got an original thought in their heads because, well, that's a problem when you don't have a soul. You can't create anything. So you don't have any creativity. The only thing you can do is mimic the creativity of others, right? That's the Cain being jealous of Abel kind of thing. So it's just mindless. But anyway, I'm going to read this little thing. Babylon is fallen because it is. And that's the only idea I reinforce. Babylon is fallen. It's not falling down. It's done. I finished this essay. I went outside. Now, what's playing on the TV is that, what's the name of that movie? The one with, what's the group? They use the mask, that guy's mask, all the time. It escapes me. But anyway, it was playing, and I'm watching this character, this masked character with a hat, just slicing and dicing all of the meat sticks, the bioborgs, to the symphony of, I think it's William Tell's Overture. But anyway, just very beautiful, profound moments, you know. And by the way, yes, it's BTR listener 029 for those that want to call into the board direct and save themselves the hassle of going through the blog talk. So if your Skype is open and you will call in, just put BTR listener 029 into your contact search, and when you hit the search, it comes up. Just right-click it and hit call. That'll bring you right to the table. For those that do want to call in, I am going to do the replay of Sevan and Paul from the other day. It's 2 hours, so I figured I can go for 45 minutes up to the hour, and then I'll play that. But I'd really like to get as much of that on the airtime as possible anyway, because I really don't have much to say other than what I'm going to be sharing with you guys tonight. And of course, I will get your input as always, because we do this together, right? We don't we don't do this alone. We've been walking alone, all one, separately long enough. Now we're all one. The alone becomes all one as we walk together, shoulder to shoulder. Okay? You know, not standing behind in front of someone or standing up in front like some egotistical protector. Savior, I'm your savior. Fuck that nonsense. No. We stand together equal, shoulder to shoulder, soul to soul connected. Right? So the con of the neck is dead. Neck is Taurus. Con to fool or dupe, deceive someone. So the fooled Taurus creation is dead. Con, neck, dead. Just like that. So now we are connected and connected. It's beautiful. We get our life back. Here's the trick of this too, and I've had a lot of conversations today with people. I got hammered with calls today. All good, you know. Where are we going? Getting this across is so very, very simple, yet it's so very difficult to do. And once you get what is actually going on, and this, hopefully, I've put it in small enough, one essay, this one is about all of it. Okay, it's very short, it's only 3 pages. 45.9 kilobytes, that's 99819. Consciousness, funny, it's a pure consciousness document. I love how that works out. Not intentional, because nothing ever is. Everything simply is. That's what creation is. But once you get this, and you truly bring yourself home, the true you, understanding that you are all, you're not a name, you're not part of the system, you're not registered, you're not this, that, and the other. All you have to do is this concept. That's why I've been sharing the idea of go to your front door, close it behind you, and get the concept, can you walk away? And the answer better be fucking yes. You don't have to, but it better be yes. Because if it isn't, you better find that string and snip it, Pinocchio. Because until you do, you are a puppet. And you have a puppet master that's pulling your strings. And they love pulling the heartstrings. And the more heartstrings that get pulled and broken, the sooner you get mortally dead. That's how it works. So keep your heart in full accord. Only be the one to play that instrument. That's yours. And no one else can play it. That's your harp. Remember, the symbol of the harp is Ireland, right? So that's the harp that you are playing within yourself. And the 4 chambers of the heart unite here. But yes, in India, the third gender has been recognized through legislation. Isn't that funny? In India, what are they referred to as? Hira, R-I-J-A, the third middle gender. Yes, do some research on that. I did years ago. Trying to prove me wrong. There was something fucking wrong with me. Not funny. But anyway, getting past that. So let me read this quickly. It won't take long. It's only, like I said, 3 pages. Certainly shorter than some of the 9, 10, 11, 12 page ones I've been doing recently. But it had to be today. It just had to be. I just felt that energy. So I'm going to share this with everybody. And you can get, it's Ninja's on the ball as always. It's already up at kateofgaia.wordpress.com. Go to the Kate's Writings page, and the newest edition, the newest baby, Law That Is Mine, Baby Lawn, is on the page now. So In this case, I don't really get into the phonics aspect of it. You guys know the trickery, the twisting and the reversing of intention within the words, just based on the sound, changing frequencies. We've covered that enough. So you get the concept of how your words can be twisted, and most people don't even, the vast majority of people don't even realize, right? We already got that. So I kept this one pretty simple. And what I'm going to do is read this. If you want to read along, please feel free. Go to caveofgaia.wordpress.com. It's already posted on Facebook as well. Has been for the last hour or so as soon as I finished it. And you can also download copies of it there or just read along. It's on my Facebook page, and it's in the Cave of Gaia discussion group. For those that want to just jump in and hang out with us, and we go over a lot of stuff in the room, lots of great posts. Watching this whole literal Babylon crumble down around its arsehole. We're going to shove it back into its Uranus where it belongs. They want the lower Uranus, they can have the lower Uranus. Good to go. Okay, so that being said, I'll just get into reading, and I'll get, looks like we've got Brandon and Darren waiting on the calls there. So this will only take a few minutes, and then we'll get everybody in. And I do have the Paul, Giovanni, and Sevan Bomar interview from Monday uploaded, ready to go. So I just want to pull it all together tonight, boys and girls. Let's get us and Paul and Sevan and everybody all pouring into the same energy point tonight, because that's all I'm interested in, getting our intention unified and seeing the power. You are seeing it for yourselves. And what a feeling, huh? Gotta love it. So anyway, enough of my rambling. Rambling? Isn't that funny how that works? Aries Taurusing? Rambling? No, it's an astrological joke. It's okay. You'll get it. All right, so Babylon is fallen by us. Oh, well, I use the map reference of Cave of Gaia, but that's us, right? Because any words that were written by me or anybody else, if the concept is shared, then whose words are they? Well, they're yours. Isn't that funny? So there you go. So this is you, writing through me, back to you. Babylon is fallen. 1. Name. The master key to the entire system's or Crown Corporation's game. The name is the linchpin to the entire legal control construct. Without a legal name, which is your consent by agreeing to be said name, the system vampires cannot literally feed on your lifeblood, creation source energy that is typically shown in the physical materials we collect. It's only consent to be, use, or have a legal name, mark of the beast, that is required for your absolute spiritual contract, deal with the devil motif, to be in full force and effect, with you as a slave and them as master. For proof of this, look and see how much of your life, existence, involves a legal name, and you will see the measure of control the system has over you. 2. Register or registration, etc. Any and all things registered are fully surrendered, with consent, to the Crown Corporation, with no legal recourse, until such things are removed by exposing the intent by those who serve the Crown Corporation to commit fraud knowingly or unknowingly. Example, a child that is registered is Crown property by ignorant consent, where the truth of registering was not brought forth, which is the original intent by Crown Corporation servants' owners to have people offer their children unknowingly into slavery of soul and thus body. It's the soul they're really after, so keep that in mind. Money, gold, silver, assets, Bitcoin, etc. are all illusions of value, where you are the true creator of all physical manifestations. Money, external value, has been the tool as the third-party interloper, middleman, that has made draining your power possible. Money or the like only has value if one has been duped into thinking it does. This illusion is the ultimate distraction and destroyer of creator souls, literally. All money is based on the soul contract, commonly known as a birth certificate. 4. Birth certificate, the original sin contract. The name you think or claim as yours is not your creation. Your assumed name was created by your parents, family members, or adoptive kin, not you. This is an original creation manifested by another that is, in turn, registered, thus rendering it Crown Corporation property, as previously stated. It is upon this deception that your literal soul was and is enslaved, and upon which all money and debt is created. A debt bond value was placed in the birth certificate based on the assumed accruement of taxes, loans, debts a child is expected to pay as long as they are part of this fraud upon humanity. Example, if someone is expected to pay a certain amount of taxes, etc. in their lifetime, the bond is given a debt value. A child born into a wealthy family will have a higher debt bond value than someone who is of a lower perceived income bracket rating. This is slave trading at its finest, which divides and conquers humanity in the serf-caste hierarchy system that encompasses the planet. 5. Command and control. The courts and governments are the system's slaves within, bought and paid for, where the true command and control aspects are the police military as the frontline dogs and fear contractors for those above the courts and governments, such as the banks, religions, and those that control them. The courts and governments are merely the filler for this sandwich of deception and the illusion. Without the ability to contract via any or all name, at the frontline level, the whole system of control is destroyed. Most importantly, those at the very top of this spiritual slavery pyramid. Without the name, all those above are ultimately annihilated completely. 6. The Triple Crown. This consists of Rome, City of London, Crown Corporation, and Washington, D.C. They are the unholy trinity of the 3-in-1, 1-in-3, as illustrated clearly in the papal crown. Religion, to control the beliefs, minds, and spirituality of humanity. Courts and banks to control the money and bonds, and the world police military to quash rebellion and act as frontline contractors of soul extractions. 7. Principality of darkness. This is the true nature of the game, that the vastness of humanity is blind to. Religions have been used to separate you from source by making one believe God is external and use the Savior program to reinforce this. Money is the tool that is used to keep people in the physical only realm by getting them to equate an external value on everything, where nothing would exist without the people and their creativity. Physical death and harm is the tool used to clamp down your true essence, which is all creation itself. The tools employed are languages with the corruption of pure frequency intent, with multiple meanings of the same sounds or frequencies, using words and spellings, literally, thus dividing and conquering us and redirecting our energy into their creations and control. These entities cannot create anything, since they are soulless and thus utterly powerless. They know this, and are absolutely terrified, because this spells their doom once and for all. We are life with consciousness, where these entities are consciousness without life, soul, or spirit. They are completely and solely dependent on getting our consent or spiritual contract agreement, and this is easily achieved through the name deception, buying people off, ego comforts, etc. Their whole house of cards, or pyramid, is based on this fact. We are the fuel for their system vehicle. Without spiritual fuel, they are destroyed. The biggest program that we run into with the masses is their disbelief of their own power and who they truly are. A masterful job has been done to get humanity to this level of spiritual weakness and complete ignorance. This was the intent of corrupting the ancient truths, rewriting our past and presenting this in schools, churches, and all levels of ego academia. Repeat a lie often enough and people will believe it. It is far easier selling a giant lie to the masses than selling us one by one. The media is the main tool of thought direction and manipulation to reinforce the lies we were filled with as children and up to our current state. We have many soulless entities on this planet, with the vast majority being placed in positions of power and control, be it police, courts, media, churches, governments, schools, military, at all levels. Fear is their only tool, and once one sees their true immortal nature, one becomes untouchable, literally. The mass hypnosis of humanity is deep and you will meet all levels of resistance from friends, family, co-workers, etc. So don't bother trying to wake the consenting to dead. The facts to prove this are all there for all to see, so it is up to them to look, not you. Simply plant the seed and walk away. They are the same as the ones in the allegory of Noah that came to the ark too late. Let them drown. We are now at the culmination of destroying these entities once and for all, and they are pulling out all the fear porn, illusion, and desperation plugs, and in that process, they're sinking their own ship where I merely hand them a better plug puller now. You and only you can save yourself and no one else, so stop killing yourself trying. Let the dead bury the dead, and perhaps they'll get it on the next pass, but they are not your concern. Stay the course. The path home is the one of truth only and nothing else. Your willingness to stand in truth is yours alone, and to the degree that you stand will be the same degree that you become untouchable spiritually and as a result physically, as above, so below after all. There is no middle ground here. You're either in or out of Babylon. You are either master or slave, mortal or immortal. The soul, you are infinite, where the body is merely a biological computer you operate. Your computer was infiltrated and corrupted, reptilian brainstem-fused chromosomes, and separated from the source mind. The soulless ones cannot experience compassion, so don't expect them to. They are the same as the Terminator droids in the movies, programmed to control and kill without remorse, and are easy to spot. They are everywhere, including your own family, friends, etc., and all you have to do is feel your way through. Let your instincts and your heart be your guide. We are clearing this reality of these parasites exponentially now, where universal law reigns supreme, where none shall or can trespass. They are masters of deception, so do not let your loving compassion be used against you, something that has been their most powerful tools. The Bioborg entities are already lifeless and are dependent only on being able to suck the life out of you, but like every vampire, they cannot enter your reality without invitation. Every use of the legal name is the only invitation they need, so best cut your ties and consent with that. Just get this concept, and you already cut the puppet strings, and your causal ability returns instantly in relation to your ability to be responsible with that ultimate of powers. To the walking dead, and you know what you are, your time is over. Your deceptions are powerless. And now, moment by now moment, you are being erased from consciousness for the invading parasites you are. We of the living soul are awake, aware, and reclaiming our reality where yours never existed. In short, yes, you are doomed. Have a nice day. So there you go. I think that spells it out pretty good. So let me get these lines open here. There's Brandon. I got Darren. I got Ninja. I got Michael. I got Janet.
Kate.
Does that nail it or what?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
300 years ago on this island, on this turtle island, there would have been 1,000 braves screaming.
Well, I hear them. We enough yet? I have. Let's play. And if anyone has got any concerns in the system, guys, just fire that off to them. Because if you get the concepts contained within it, you are the living, literal gunpowder in that ready-to-be-thrown grenade. But do not throw it empty. Get the concept. Understand what everything in it is. Stand in the truth. Once you get it, then fire that grenade into their trench and watch them scatter in pieces.
Yep, I just fired a bunch of them, so yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so funny the other night. I was sitting outside at night by the library, and I was just tuning into energies and working through a lot of stuff, and this guy walked over, and he was real friendly, and he had a peace pipe, and it was really cool. So he's like, "You want to smoke some medicine?" And I was like, "What?" Because he kind of surprised me. And anyway, he sat down, and I was playing one of your songs on Shadow Road, and he's like, Kate of Gaia? And I'm like, yeah, you know Kate of Gaia? And he's like, no, but my friend, and his house is right by the library. And I was like, really? So I was like really excited. And so he's like, yeah, you want to meet him? And I was like, yeah. And so I went over, we talked for a little bit, and we smoked a little, and then I walked in the house, and he introduced me, and his name was Travis. And he said what a lot of us say is, you know, he's like, I don't care what you call me, just don't call me late for dinner. And so I was like, oh, cool. And so then I was like, how do you know Kate? You know, and he's like, oh, I thought you were Kate. because of the big sticker on the back of the truck. And so it was funny.
Talk about a rolling garlic ball. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what we need to do? You want to put garlic on your car? Just put a Kate of Gaia sticker. I don't care how big it is. You can just hand draw on one of those labels and stick it on your bumper. You know, seriously, there's your spiritual garlic. Because I guarantee you, any cop that fucking reads that knows exactly what that is, and they're not going to touch you. I promise you, they will not hear you. If you are connected to me,
sure.
We stand in this truth. That is who you are. Ka-ti of Ka-iya, the spirit of the law of truth in consciousness, ultraviolet spirit of the yang yin. You are. Go ahead, tell me you're not that.
Yeah, that's it.
So you see, it's not a person. It's not a being. It is a state of being. In the same way that the Christ consciousness is not a man or a woman. It is a state of being. Kate of Gaia is a state of being. It's merely a map reference to match up this voice. That's all it is for me. I stand in that. That's the whole notion, and you guys know this. It's just a coincidence that, you know, the initials that I had all worked out into this magically sort of kind of wow, you know. Oh, that's funny. So carry on. How was so it was Travis that obviously wasn't late for dinner. And who was the other?
And then Kate. I forget the other guy's name that came up to me first. He was real sweet. He was born the same year as my daughter in 1982, and he was wanting to go to Mount Shasta, but I didn't have a lot of gas. So anyway, so Travis was telling me that he was researching his ancestors, and I was like, oh, cool, yeah. You know, we talk about that, about rebuilding your DNA strand, and he's like, what else do you guys talk about? And this huge voice came out of me, and I'm like, well, we talk about the name, and if you're using your name unknowingly, you're absolutely you're sucking off the tits of the whore of Babylon, and your energy, your spiritual energy is being siphoned away. And he's like, his eyes got so big. He's like, oh, that's deep. And I was like, yep. And he said a few other things I don't remember, but then I got really quiet, and I was like, well, it was really good to meet you, and I'm kind of tired, because then he started talking about some situation. I don't really know what it was, if they're moving in or out, but anyway, I kind of came on really strong, and I guess his spirit called me since he invited me in. I don't know, so I was like tripping on that. I was like, well, I kind of came on kind of strong.
Well, what's the point? There's no point in half mile in it. You might as well, if you're going to swing at a hard ball or a fastball coming at you, you might as well swing for the bleachers, you know?
Yeah, I think his windows were shaking.
Yeah. Jen, I got to tell you, you've got such a sweet giggle. I can only imagine that voice delivering that mind-destroying swing. Up the swing, bada, home run. Oh, you know, picking up bioboard meat sticks all over the place.
So it's working. This big sticker's working. People are like, oh, that's Kate of Gaia. I'm like, sweet.
Go.
Right. Yep.
Oh, awesome. Well,
okay.
Yeah, go ahead. We're lit up tonight. We got Colleen's in, and 856, I think it's Hassan, if I remember. Randy's in. Everybody's in tonight. So let's go ahead.
Yeah, hi everyone. I've heard a story this week. I'll share it, seeing as tonight's red hot with Babylon having fallen already. How about this then? No registered names in the system. Police come to the door on a peace mission, but they're armed because that's how they do business. They want names and they get none. They look very confused. And they go away again, knowing that there's no name in the system because somebody already get them. But they're not those people, though. So they asked and they got a 0. Not a bit of paper, not a witness statement, not a birth certificate, not a nothing. And they just said, thank you, goodbye, and left.
There it is, babies. How many more times we got to have the same story of invincibility, untouchability, absolute system destruction? You kill it at the cop level, you've killed it at every level, because they're the only ones that come in to get the name. Right? The military, you can call them, camouflage cops is all they are, really. But the main frontline contractors are the police. The courts and the governments work for the police, not the other way round. So if you look at the system with the cops at the frontline contracting souls, the illusion of the courts thinking that somehow they have power, which they don't, and government sometimes, no, they don't have any power either. It's the ones above that, the banks and the religions and those that control that aspect. The filler, courts and government, you pull I'll tell you this right now, pull out the filler and you pull out the lower piece of the sandwich, the first level, what have you got? Nothing. You got a slice of dead bread that's going to go moldy right quick.
Yeah, no butter on it. The thing is,
it is buttered. It just sticks down now. They can't move.
Yeah, that's when it falls always on the buttered side. Yeah. The thing is, they ask you, they say, but we were looking for the names, and we couldn't find them, and the thing is, they get a blank stare and silence, and they literally run out of things to say, and then they decide they better just fuck off because they do not know what else to say.
No,
and
they mentally implode.
There's nobody breaking the peace. They're confused. Every level of confusion flashing across the face, and they absolutely don't know what to do. And because the energy is so pure, so powerful when you stand, they're touched by that, you see. And it affects them. It breaks the spell over them for a moment while they go away and process it later. But they cannot do harm. They are incapable of doing harm in that moment. It's very palpable, and you can feel it.
Well, and that's such a critical thing you said, because in that instant, what you've done is you've made them aware of their spiritual essence, and this is how you can separate the bioborgs from the true soul that has been duped.
Yeah.
So well done, and well done. And you see, this is it, and for me, sorry, guilt by association. You want to be a cop and you claim to be upholding the law. Well, I'll tell you, all the laws that you're upholding are destroying humanity. And until you wake up to this, you're still party to the crime. And that's all we're trying to do, is wake you up to that crime so that you're not killing yourself, destroying your own soul and those of your fellow workers and your families and your friends and humanity as a whole. Right? What this is doing now is it's draining the vampire energy back to us. That's why, for shills, please bring it on. I've probably had over 100 or more Facebook friend requests, and every one of them that comes in is a pipeline to pour that pure truth, because they're dead. They have no power. So I'm the one dancing on their grave, and I'm the one that's writing on their gravestone, and I'm the one that's taking care of everything because I'm alive. The dead cannot do anything. So the shills and what have you that are getting paid to do this end up becoming the perfect inlet for me to pump pure truth venom into the heart of the beast. Thank you very much. So please, shills, come on, bring it on. Open up the pipelines. This bitch is draining right into you. Going the other way now, isn't it?
Yeah, amazing. Two allegories and all of that. The police being represented as the red herring within the law, legalese language. The allegory of that is they don't exist. There's no physical bird called the red herring. There's no purpose for the name other for something that does not exist. And that is supported by an indigenous language.
There you go.
That's it. They don't exist.
Yeah.
You know?
Not only that, they're mocked, They're horrifically mocked, as Mark Passio points out, and they don't even know it. They wear the checkerboard around their brain, which stands for duality consciousness that they're stuck in. And then they wear on their crown chakra some sort of Masonic emblem that they don't even understand. And they have a pentagram upon their heads and a hex. So you got to feel sorry for them, in some way. And, it's like these are the people we kind of have to reach out to in some way, I feel, but despise at the same time.
Well, hey, Brandon, that's exactly. Now I'm going to ask you guys. I've got a lot of mic open. That which I just read, does that pretty much cover everything that needs to be covered?
Hey.
Plus some.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I need to know this.
Well, I did see one.
What's that?
Katie, how am I going to get my money back?
Well, again, that's money's the illusion, right? So that is covered. Well, hey, listen, if somebody says that to you, how to get my money back? And I said, what, you're still looking for a fictitious illusion? You see, well, that just illustrates the trap that money is, right? Everyone equates things to money.
What else is it showing, Kate? Is it showing that there's no place for our shadow to hide?
Nope, not at all. It's gone. Bye. There's the light. For me, it's I want to know that this is one thing that can be given to anybody at any level. That there's enough in it that you can put the gunpowder for the numerous concepts we've talked about over the last couple of years or so, where it's in one grenade. So there it is. What is it? 3 pages? And all you got to do is send it. I don't give a fuck if anybody reads it. As long as you know what's on it, that intent is pure spiritual flamethrower. And any email inbox it goes into is now a virused inbox. Any mailbox it gets delivered to, any courthouse, any police station, any police Facebook page, like what Jane's been doing, right? Any of these newspapers, I don't care, churches, you name it, you get it to anyone and everyone, and every one of those that gets to one email address, everyone that they are connected to is now pipelined from that one point. You want this to go viral? To get an hour? Really? It needs an hour for Babylon to fall? I'd say take about probably 3 minutes of concerted effort. Think about that. The 7 levels of separation. You remember the Kevin Bacon game? How many levels of separation from Kevin Bacon are you? Right? Right? So that's the same thing. And I guarantee you send that out to 100 people, you won't get more than 2 or 3 levels of separation away from anyone that's connected in any of their networks. I'm talking because they have a name that is conjoined to other names in their reality. If you can see as a root, you are the start of the roots. When you send that out through the network, it branches off, say 1, then it branches off into, say there's 10 people there directly connected. It would be more than that, but let's just keep it real, because this goes exponential in light speed, beyond light speed, right? And then each one of those 10 has 10. And each one of those, if you remember the movie Avatar, each root has 10 to the 4th connections. And there are 10 to the 12th trees on Pandora. And that's what we are. We are the branches of those trees, right? Home tree just got re-erected. So be the root, be the cause, right? Because I'll tell you, it's like this. How long does it take something to go exponential? You tell 2 people They each tell 2 people. They each tell 2 people. And it's much bigger than that, but let's keep it real. I don't know if you guys remember the story of the guy that ended up taking over a kingdom because he had done something great, and the king asked him what he would like for payment. And he said, I would like 1 grain of rice doubled on a chessboard on each square. So the king, not thinking, immediately reacted, and I don't think it got past the 19th or 20th square, and he owned the kingdom.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't enough rice to fulfill that spin out.
Yep. I think there's a sort of art form in which you plant these seeds as well. I don't think, personally speaking, I like to drop these sort of seeds, or plant these seeds in a more fruitful way than sort of just sending off the rash, which is not rash, but I mean it has to be done. Say a letter to a congressman or some phone call. No, I'm gonna go to the front doors of the building and actually hand out paper, or really plant seeds, very subtly by say talking to a certain elite person and say, hey, this whole thing is a sham, don't you know? And usually they'll say, yeah, we know. We're just keeping up. We need a job, don't we?
Well, Brandon, this is called accountability. And I just want to remind people, and I know you've done a lot of stuff in the past getting word out. What I want people to keep in mind first and foremost is you don't even have to say a word to these individuals, because if you understand everything that's in that, if it resonates with you and the concepts are clear, the mere fact of you handing it to someone is already done. You don't got to say a word, because they are dead by consent. And the instant you hand that to them, they're yours.
Right.
Whether they want to fight with you or not, it's irrelevant. Stay the course. They're not your concern. Move along. Plant the seed, move along. Plant the seed, move along. Do not waste time talking.
Good point, yeah.
You are God. I'm trying to tell people this. You are God. Make your spell known. And the way to make the spell known is for you to understand what it is that is in that piece of paper, that is the transmission device. You are the power source. And that
we are the
you.
virus.
We are the
you got it. Virus.
We are the virus. We are the Trojan horse.
That's right. And we need to multiply. It's mitosis. It's a simple mitosis. It's natural law. Mitosis, okay?
Yep. Well, here, check this out. Look at everyone's familiar with Bitcoin. Well, let's break what Bitcoin means, and I'll show those that are chasing after Bitcoin what they're doing. Okay, that's something you put in the horse's mouth to steer it, right? So that's the whore's mouth. All right, and if you're biting on it, your torus field is clamped shut. Get a visual of the movie, I think it was The Immortals, with all the titans with rods in their mouths, and they're biting down on it. That's a bit. That's what a bit is. And a coin, well, we all know what a coin is. It's a high priest. So they're the steered horse of the high priest. Any further questions needed for the breakdown, the definition of Bitcoin and what it really is? Didn't think so. Coin tell pro. High priest tell for. Right? They're talking for the high priest. Coin tell pro. That's what it means. Break it down phonetically and put in all the different meanings. And then once you decide on one, that's what it is for you. That's what your law is. That's what the common law is. That's with me law. You are the authority. You are God. Your law stands. No one else's.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
When known shills, and we know who they are, when known shills promote anything at all, have a word with yourself, if you start going and looking at it. Who was promoting Bitcoin not long ago? Probably Liz. All over the mainstream, and what's her face? What's her name?
Oh, Karen Hughes?
Karen. Yeah, she's all over that shit.
Well, yeah, she's a hood. She's a hoodwink. Pure hood. Karen comes from Catherine, which means purity. Hood, well, it can mean either something to put over somebody's head before you execute them, or it can mean mind. So it's either a pure mind or a pure executioner. Which role do you think Karen Hoods is playing? It's in her fucking name.
Actually, yeah,
I can tell you who's playing what.
That's right. In Dutch, hood means a hat. Same thing.
Wow.
But,
isn't there another? There's another hood too.
Is there? Oh, I don't know about that one. Oh, we've got enough already.
Well, yeah, there's a Little Red Riding Hood.
Do you know which one I mean, Kate?
Well, there's a lot of them. I instantly go to things like we've just sunk the HMS Hood again. I was christened under the bell of the Hood, by the way, at Sinclair Seaman's Church in Belfast. What's that
Motherhood then?
Motherhood?
Isn't that called a hood on part of the male anatomy?
Oh, yeah.
Referred to as the hood.
Yeah, and there's the clitoral hood and the foreskin, which is also known as a hood.
Yes.
It's the same thing on both male and female. It's just one's an innie, one's an outie. It's the same construction. One's the mirror of the other.
Yes, but usually when you hear about it, it's been the hood on the penis.
Yeah. Don't worry, I've done my anatomy research, SRS stuff. Yeah, I know all about those areas. Don't worry, my clitoral hood is still intact. It's all good.
That's right. I wanted to share, I had a beautiful energy exchange with a policeman today. But first I wanted to say that, every time you write something, and I'm sure many of listening feel the same way, it's like each one, it's like, oh my gosh, this is the most incredible one each time. But yes, it does cover everything and some. I was going to say number 7, Principalities of Darkness. This is where it all started right here. And everything else that you wrote about stems from this right here, where we were taught that source is outside of ourselves. And then that Savior program outside of ourselves, and that's where all the fear comes from. And so then we want someone to take care of us, like the government, our name, license, money, all that. But it all goes back to that root of not knowing who you really are.
Right.
That you are God.
Well, as above, so below. 1 to 7. 7 is 1, 1 is 7. So it has to read the same way up and down. That's when you know you've got the whole picture. So the thesis must also be the antithesis as well. So you're absolutely right. And again, I could have written so much more and outlined some details, but this is not about that. This is to be given out by those that know what that is. Because irrelevant if someone else gets it immediately, that is irrelevant. It's only important that you get it, that you put the intent in it, that you deliver the Trojan horse into the city of Troy and sink her silver ounces, her Oz.
Yes. Well, today I was out and about, and I had parked my car in front of a nursery, Oasis Nursery, where I do an exchange with someone who works there, and I get soil and my seeds and flowers and things. And I happened to park in a red zone because I was going to load up my car, and part of it was in where you're supposed to pay the meter. Well, it was after 10 o'clock, and that's when the meter starts. So I really intuitively created deja vu. I was driving up Main Street, and there was a young guy, and I stopped at the light, and he was walking in the crosswalk in front of me, and I just thought, isn't that a nice-looking guy? He was his face was so open and light, and he had a really nice gait and very physically fit, and he just had a really nice energy about him. And so I just kind of thought to myself, oh, he just has a really nice look about him. And so about 15 minutes later, I went back and went over to the nursery, and I had this thought about him. And so I was in the nursery, and I was getting things, and I was kind of looking through the gate at my car, and I looked down, and I was just getting ready to get my purchase or my things I was getting, and there he was at my car. So I stopped what I was doing, and I walked across the street, and I just yelled out to him, "Oh, you don't want to do that." He had his Narmer pallet or whatever
Narmer pallet was open and ready to contract.
Yes. I said, "Oh, you don't want to do that," as I'm walking across the street. He looked at me, and it was like time stood still, and he was just like looking at me and looking back at it. It was almost like he was looking at me like an angel crossing the street or something. It was really interesting. And so he closed his Narmer pallet. He closed it, and he said, "No, I don't want to do that." And he said, "Yeah." And it was like, and he said, "I really don't like giving tickets out." And I said, "Well, I understand." I said, "Well, why do you then? Why do you have this job?" And he said, "I've been going on other interviews and things." He said, "This isn't what my heart," he said this isn't what my heart wants to do. And so we just talked a little bit. I happen to have
happens.
Yes, I happen to have a couple copies of The I Who Shall Not Be Legally Named. I shall not be. And the One Stop Shop, and I just talked to him a little bit about that. And he was very open to it. And he said, "Is that like the sovereign movement?" I said, "Well," I said, "why don't just take a look at it?" And I told him about the show. He may even be listening, Jason. I told him about it. And
I hope he is.
And we actually hugged each other at the end. And this
that's the shit I am talking about, Colleen. Thank you so much. We got to bring these kids home.
Yeah, he wasn't even 25. And his hug was just an incredible, it wasn't one of those, It was a beautiful, yes. It was like, I felt like he didn't want to, and I didn't want to let go of him. And it was in the middle of the road.
Welcome home, Jason. Keep walking. We're here. We're waiting for you.
Welcome home, brother.
Yes.
Welcome home.
Yes, just remember, he's like playing a role he doesn't want to play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. We call them policemen. We label each other by our job. He's a policeman. No, he's a human being playing the role as a policeman. And
he was what you would call, what do you call him? A peace officer.
Yeah,
he didn't want to do that. He was more in his peace.
Mm-hmm. Now, just keep in mind, guys, we're rolling up to the top of the hour here. I do want to get this Sevan thing on tonight to tie all these energies together. So, beautiful. How do you top that, Colleen? That's exactly, and I've had nothing but that today with people, tagging me, but I'll tell you, anyone that has any quote legal unquote issues, that is the belly of the beast seed, but you've got to understand what's on it. That's where the power is. It's not in the piece of fucking paper. It is in your heart. if these are words, and they are, remember this, they're all pure intent. They're definitionized, if you will, from my fingertips. It's only pure benevolent intent going out. And if that is your intent, and you understand what's in that, that is a hydrogen bomb of a grenade.
So I was sharing about being barefoot and about how take off your shoes and put your feet in the earth. And
hell yeah.
I was over at the so-called school system, and yeah, sure, I kicked my shoes off, walked outside, put my feet in the grass, and walked back in the classroom barefoot, and spent my day barefoot in school. Man, we are free beings, ready to share more and more love. This is really what our heart's singing.
That's beautiful.
Yep. You want to hear an example of desperation? I'm never into these posts, but I got to tell you, this actually just states exactly what I was saying about desperation. Tell me this isn't desperation. Man who overpaid child support is in jail this morning. So here's a guy that actually overpaid child support, and they don't see this is the desperation. Oh, V for Vendetta, that was it. Thanks, Coral. That's the desperation of what's going on. The V for Vendetta was playing right at the end scene, da 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 da, and I'm watching him, cut heads off and knock meat sticks down, and it was like watching a symphony of Babylon getting slaughtered. Right at the end, when I literally just finished writing that, I went out to warm up my tea, and there it was on the screen. I'm going, I told you. So there it is.
Beautiful.
I love that. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys. Go ahead. I want to get everybody in so I can hear everybody before I roll into the Sevan Bomar. I want this energy tied together. We're not going to get all of it at this point. We will if I do it right now. But
I'm willing to shut down to listen.
Yeah, everyone
do it. It's so good. Such a great show. We listened earlier today, and I just put it on. That's a gem.
It is a gem of gems, and it was beautiful. So without further ado then, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow night, I'm going to pop this on and just let it roll. It will roll into the recording. Those that want to get all of it, it won't matter. It's going to be on the archive again anyway, but at least it's with the Babylon Has Fallen version. You can call in to listen live at 661-467-2401. That's when, in an hour from now, we go into the recording. You will not be able to get on to listen unless you're called into the board at that point. So 661-467-2401 or BTR listeners 029, isn't it? Let me just double check. I believe it's 029.
Yeah, 029.
Okay. BTR listeners 029 if you want a direct call from Skype. Just search that out in your contact search. When it comes up, just right-click it and hit call, and that will bring you to the board. That being said, a great big thank you to Paul Giovanni and the crew at Critical Mass Radio. Ninja, oh my God, priceless.
Thank you, Ninja.
Oh, yeah. Talk about guts and glory, hey, baby? Well done. And criticalmassradio.co.uk. Paul does some promo in this, so he's going to send me having to do it, but you know the routine. Anything anyone can do to help, greatly appreciate it. We do this together. So that being said, I'll catch you guys live again tomorrow night, same time, same place, and enjoy this. Beautiful. A bit of music coming up first, so just
thank you.
I'll mute out all the mics so that there's no coughing or farting over top of it, okay? So we'll catch you guys tomorrow.
Much love.
You're listening to Critical Mass Radio. Now, it's our turn. The world is a dangerous place. Not because of those who do evil, but because of those who look on and do nothing. It's time to take action. It's time for the Critical Mass Show.
I'll answer the question. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth! Well, you can bump in
critical mass has been reached. Now we must come together. We are the resistance. Join us. criticalmassradio.co.uk. Now it's our turn. The Critical Mass Show with the new romantic, dandy highwayman, anarchist, Paul Giovanni. Mondays 7 till 9 on Critical Mass Radio. Now it's our turn.
Critical Mass Radio.
Good evening, guys, and welcome to the Critical Mass Show with myself, Paul Giovanni. It is Monday, kicking off the week. Right, I'm going to go straight into this because I'm watching the chat box and I'm watching all the other forms of connection here, and I'm getting messages all over the show. So the chat that we have on this evening is well known. I don't really need to do an introduction. When we first started this station, we had George, who used to tell me about such things, and Rob, and then Kate came along and then blew us all out of the water with all her knowledge. And now Sevan is on with us tonight. Years ago, sort of growing up in the 70s, we had films like Star Wars, etc., and always believing that there was a magic other than what we were told and what we were brought up with and what we were raised in this so-called matrix. And in the last, I'd say 6 months, I'm starting to believe in all this magic that is out there now, and there are so many different ways of thinking, so many different chains of thought. So I'm laying myself open with tonight's guest, Sevan, because there's so much to learn from this chap, and so many people saying many good things, and also it's great to have someone as good looking as myself on the show. Sevan, are you there, my friend?
Yes, I am. It's great to be on Critical Mass, Giovanni. Thanks for having me on. What's up?
No, it's all good. It's not, well, like I say, it's this. I'm laying myself open to this now. There are. We can go on the usual subjects, can't we? We could talk about the Matrix, but the thing that I am most into, should I say, at the moment, and the thing that's opening my eyes is sort of self-involvement, the soul being the best you can be, and self-awareness on all different levels. Then your name keeps getting mentioned, and listen to Kate Shaw, etc., Rob, and so this is why I'm wanting to speak to you in this time, really, because listening to yourself on a few little YouTube clips, I'm starting to see where you're coming from, you see, and it's interesting to find out all levels how we exist, because obviously there's more to this sort of this body that we use every day, and we are controlled in, wouldn't you say?
For sure. You know, I'm just a person that is I'm a deep explorer of consciousness, in being in situations in life where I've only had what was inside to really keep me stable and to reassure me. I started to explore the consciousness of just talking to yourself. If you notice that everything that goes on, you actually repeat it to yourself, like, hey, I'm about to go to the store, or hey, you know, I don't think we should do that, oh, I don't feel good today. And it's sort of like you're having this conversation with yourself in English. And even, you know, we can even drop some recent knowledge, like we were cracking into just yesterday how what consciousness is and what reason is and all of that is a hive. It's an actual hive of information or communication that even if an organism, me, you, whatever, dies in it, we can live again because we just plug right back into the same database and hive of where all the information is kept. You see what I mean? So a lot of beings are sharing in this hive of information, but what we've also dealt with in our recent history is that communication grid has been broke. So thus, we can't talk to the animals, we can't talk to things that are connected on multiple levels, and this makes us dumb because we don't have a system of communication. And so this becomes very, for me, encouraging, because it actually explains why such a magnificent being has faltered up until this point. Meaning it actually gives a viable reason, not a scapegoat, but a viable reason to why we have not expanded up until this point. And then it also puts the ball, literally God's ball, back into our court, and then allows us to be able to expand, allows us to be able to get into what we really are. Now, some people would say, are you talking upgrade? And in every tense, I'm talking upgrade, but upgrades from an already downtrodden, belittled, programmed state of consciousness. So in every tense, it's not much of an upgrade. It's really a restoration first to back to what you originally were and are, which is everything. And then we'll talk from there. And in fact, we won't even be using language. We won't be using any rudimentary systems of communication. So, of course, my advent into this was through a massive transformation in which a code was transmitted to me, a light code, if you may. Mm-hmm. And this is none other than, if you go 100 more years in the future, you'll find that we're not using this magnetic saving system like these hard drives and all of that, even though clouds is a different technology that I really won't get into right now. But in the future, the way information is stored is through light. So the only thing you need is a proper lens or a proper receptor to be able to read this light code and begin to interpret it into whatever dimensional language that you're familiar with. And so that's what happened with me, is that I received information that was encrypted. And in my decrypting of that information, which took years, I was taken and am always on an astral quest or an adventure through consciousness. But it's real. It's not one of these fictitious, let's play make-believe, let's run around the forest with, trolls and all this kind of stuff. It's not that kind of thing. It's that you are in it. You see what I mean? And you become the key player, if you may, to a game. You then, in the game, as they talk about the movie Ender's Game, and then you get on to adept life, adult life, because adults don't play games. Everything is serious. When you have children, when you have ideas, you're manifesting so seriously because you know that you're building for perfection. And these perfections are based on all the lessons that you've learned. It has nothing to do with integers from outside components or people trying to reflect on you what they think is perfect. It becomes based on your experience. This is what you design, because you, in every tense, are a designer. And every tense a creator, and in every tense a supreme being. Now, this for some people, and you can see how weird it is on this planet, is actually bitter medicine. They actually do not want to accept this idea that inside of them, their organs actually correspond to planets. And that the designer, if you may, of this particular matrix designed it off of the immediate solar system. So you're actually encased not only with infinite amounts of energy, but also this beautiful design that functions as a real spaceship. But this makes sense because if you find yourself lost in one of these vortexes, you got to realize that you never would leave yourself stranded. That you would put yourself inside of, when you finally woke up or when you finally got out of whatever the stupor was, you would put yourself inside of what is necessary to get you to an entirely different level, emancipated level. So the only game here then on this planet in particular is some other forces trying to convince you all the time that you're not the supreme being. That's the biggest game. Everything wants to control the power of the superhuman, because then all of the potential that we have, all these chakras and all these different things that I'm explaining to you that are better to experience than to ever hear about being explained. But all this kind of stuff gets forfeited. Meaning that it only gets used for when we're boosting something else's grand design of destruction. Meaning, how many brilliant minds these days and their ideas are used for pulling our society in the wrong direction, in the unbalanced direction? We can answer that question ourselves. We don't have to get into that very deeply. But just realize that steel, which is very powerful, very strong element, can either be used to form and fasten massive discs that spin on themselves with perfect bearings and then create a fully generating perpetual device that powers an entire city running on magnets. Or it could be this crude, rudimentary, sharp edge that's used to thrust and point and poke into other things in the reality like a kid. So what we're really dealing with here is it's not the elements, and it's not even they call them demons and all. It's not that. It's humans, because we are the apex of this species. It's quite clear. We're fused with all life forms, and even visible and invisible life forms. So this makes us have a great responsibility as actually teachers, real tenders of the gardens, real shepherds, if you may, to basically drive the ship. Everyone is generally at their stations. And so this is why you have some individuals who can, they can speak like me. Then other individuals, they are inclined. When you get them out there, you put the hammer, when you put a welding iron, when you put whatever in their hands, they are inclined to that. They'd rather not be talking. And it's because we function as this body that just because the person next to you doesn't do what you do perfectly, oh, believe me, every single human has jewels encrusted inside of them. This means talents, right? So only thing that we're dealing with in this reality also is minors. Now notice your mind, right? They even name it correctly. Your mind can be mined. It wants to build real estate in your consciousness on the astral plane. Have you dreaming of integers that only exist within these three-dimensional realities, like McDonald's? You got a McDonald's in your dream. You got chairs in your dream. You got all of these components that have been put here by something else. And so the reality is we realize, and we were talking about this yesterday, that the strongest mind, and remember, we're not talking about one person here or anything like that. We're talking about group consciousness. The strongest mind will control the dream, okay? Because where we actually are is in a dream, and I don't want to get into that, but I can pick it apart in so many levels of explaining to people that this is actually one of those illusionary planes, and that's why mirrors are here. But we can play around with the dream, or we can get serious about it and come into the control point. And I kind of skipped my idea, my thought here, so I just take a break and take a drink of water here. And then we'll warm up into this. My main goal is to actually answer any questions that you may have about this construct, especially total emancipation from it, and then back into it. Because here's the interesting thing about my message. My message is not, this is the escape hatch. This is not how to get out of it. No, actually, this is how to get in. Because that's the direction we're moving. We're actually imploding. That's bringing the real power back in its place. Because if you understand what the Nazis were seeking out is they were seeking out the knowledge to implosion so that they can invert it and then create explosion. So was it not JPL, Crowley, and all the rest of them figuring out from the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, and the Vimana Shastras exactly how the body, which is a universe, implodes, thus becomes a time machine, so that they can turn it inside out and rip an envelope or a hole inside of our system by launching energy that is not supposed to be launched inside of a bubble, thus fulfilling their idea of breaking out of the womb. And this is an interesting thing because you will always want to look for, well, who was right, who was wrong. This is a saga. The right and wrong seems to blend in. If you get a race of people who want out of the matrix so bad that they go so external, they feel like they could blow a hole in the matrix, rip a hole right in time, have the life, the climax, and the death all in one moment. And that's why Oppenheimer, he recited the verse from the Upanishad, I have become the destroyer of worlds. Because when the energy signature of a nuclear weapon is let off, it rips a hole through time that opens up a space. That space will always be there. It's like a hole in the womb. And anything can go in and out of that space. Okay? And then this is when you're getting into Time Lord stuff. This is opening up a hole in time, a tube for your time machine. All of this stuff has to be put together step by step. Nobody was in there saying, oh, I think this is how you do it, and then kind of sitting there. No, they were like, we got to rip time. What can do that? Adam. Adam can rip time. He's a time lord. So they took the diagrams of Adam, cutting Adam all open, looking at his organs and trying to get the design. Right? And some people say, well, I don't know, I can't follow you. And some people are like, man, I'm with you. I can read this, what you're saying about this transmutation in use of an energy. And when this energy And you can say it was in Egypt in the Ark of the Covenant. You could say it's inside of the Kaaba. You can say it's anywhere. But when energy is used as a weapon, not to save but to destroy, now you have met God. Okay? By its real term, the Germanic god Gud is a weapon. That's what I say. In God we trust. Who do they trust? They trust a weapon. What is the weapon? The nuclear weapon. Where did they get it? From the Kemetans. The Kemetans had already built a nuclear weapon, a nuclear device, It wasn't a weapon for them. They built a nuclear device and put it in the center of the pyramid and used it to power the entire grid. But who knows what they were up to, because they built an entire external grid system over the top of an organic grid system, right? Using these cubes, which is basically nuclear energy, to power them. So when Moses, who was Ramses, left out of Egypt with this knowledge, I say Moses knew all the wisdom of the Egyptians, he went to Israel, he took the gods, Isis, Ra, El, meaning the powers, and then set up this new place in the land of Canaan, who was the first man, Cain, and then lorded over everyone with this damn weapon. And is that not what's been happening for the last 150 years? Them scaring everyone with this weapon? After they dropped it on the Nagas in Nagasaki, okay, that was it. That's Kundalini. The Nagas are Kundalini. You look at the ancient traditions, there's serpents in the ancient tradition because the serpent is the first stage of the melanin. It's not necessarily black. It's like green, dark. These are the roots and the foundations, and this is the elements. Like, you can find this on the periodic table. This is not a myth. This is not hocus pocus, and this is not animal worship. That's the other thing. To clear some stuff up, because I always bring stuff new now. Clear some stuff up. These ancient people were not the ancient ones, not after the foolishness, but the ancient people were not worshiping animals. They had zoomorphied the verbal vibration of the animal form. So what a uru is, the strength of a uru, the strength of a lion, was embodied within a tone and a vibration. And they say that these were given as offerings to the gods, as intonations, meaning that if the human can think stronger than it can say, if that makes sense. Meaning that if we think a massive force of energy is coming to wipe over things and clear it all out, the strength of a mind can send a vivid feeling wave. There's some lamas, you sitting in the room with them, or the deep meditators, even some of the leaders of some of these communities, you sit in the room with them, this guy is throwing waves at you. And it's a simple thing. All he does is get his breath in tune. He creates the same force that Tesla discovered. And it's like a rhythmic thing that bounces off of the wall, like isochronics and like binaural. And once that thing starts moving, the energy just and you're in a pure energy field. And then nobody can tell you what's going to happen next, because all that field does is charge up your centers, these chakra centers. And then you become conscious of who you are, which is unique. So that's what we're talking about here. Like, we're not talking about something that is we want to happen. Man, this is already going on. Some people think they're in the right club or in the right group. Nay, inside is the invisible college. Everything is in. And when you go there, all the stuff that's around you metamorphosizes based on your condition inside. That's why the dream world and what you see in the dream world, you might as well get another word, because it's not a dream. It's the cogs of time in which things that are going to happen here later, maybe, are occurring. So anyone who is lucid and can actually travel through the dream world and move things around is a time lord, meaning that they can literally prevent things from happening in their physical reality. You have a lot, meaning your station, your area, and that's based on your magnetic field, and you have control of that. So the more you build up this energy, and there's different forms of energy all around, but the greatest one is your mind. You can actually power yourself on your ideas. They say, what are you talking about? How can a person power yourself on an idea? If I told you you were going to get $3 million tomorrow, and you believed me, you knew that I was not lying, like I was Publishers Clearinghouse or something, man, you couldn't sleep that night. You're calling everybody. You're so damn jittery, it's like you on coffee. You ain't took nothing, because what's powering you, though? The idea. Right?
Okay.
So this idea is, so what if you could trick your mind then? Because, see, obviously what the money does is the money is the alchemy. It's the dirt and the gold. It's the false current or false currency. Person may want to give you some money, you get excited. So this means your fuel is the money. That's how they made the talismans. Okay? So if you turn it back over to its original system, this is you powering yourself off a perpetual thought. So today I'll introduce you what that one perpetual thought is. It's not even a ton of different things. This perpetual thought is called the unbegotten. It is a fact in the universe that boils the mind to smithereens. It is because this actually shows us beyond a shadow of a doubt that we've done the impossible already. Somehow humans have done the impossible. And the other creatures that live here. So this is why there should be another level of respect for them too. Because they've done the impossible too. So when they wake up, no telling what they are. Now what the impossible is that something has come from nothing. This is the conundrum. You even thought of this as a child. Mommy, where did God come from? Well, honey, generally you hope the child starts early. Like, where did the cat come from? Oh, the cat comes from the God. Mommy, where did God come from? Well, honey. There's no data for that. But see, the ancients had the rest of the data. They knew. Look, all that comes from the subjective plane. If you go to the place called Nu, which is like the vagina of the Nile Delta, look at it on your map. What comes out of that threshold from there, those men that are there, if you really seek to know that, they can teach you. They stand at the door, and they guard the door. Because that door is basically the same thing as your mother's womb. But on this external physical, but this is a planet, this is alive, there's a vagina. I know we got FCC. I heard someone say that the other day. It was cracking me up. But the reality is that there's a place on this planet where everything that is new, all the energies that are new, it comes right out of that hole. And there were custodians that were there that knew how to handle that energy. Some people are like, man, you guys need to wake up. This whole thing is orgasmic, but there is, you know how in physics and all this they tell you there's only energy. They keep saying it, but they don't understand it. They're still trying to get it. They don't understand energy is everything. Stop trying to put it inside of something and just flow with it. Meaning go ahead and stop resisting in a tense. That's why I said, man, we became the resistance to cease the resistance. We're no longer afraid of these people and these beings, but we will take every single entity here that wants to go through the process of emancipation through the process step by step, because you can't go giving a baby a flamethrower. That's what you would be doing. You put someone in a Shmezharaf and they just come out of Christianity. Goodbye. People don't act like there aren't crazy people in this world that have gotten crazy from playing around with spirituality. I get emails from these crazy people all the time. Nothing of what they're saying is making sense. They're completely gone. But I know what happened. This is a phenomena that will continue to increase in our world, meaning that the more potent, because the internet is releasing everything. You got stuff, if you have the right keywords, man should not really have his hands on that until he and she becomes adept to the potency of some of these words that are being released. And what do people want with them? A car. I just want a car. What kind of word you got that I can get some power so I can get this girl? The projections for what you want with these kind of words is way too low. So you got a problem. And this is what someone explained to me is, when you bring an energy into this world, if you want to also know what's happening, what is going on with the malevolent forces, what's happening? It's because they have evoked or invoked energies that are so powerful, it's like dragging those energies back through time. They had already went through the toil and all this. Everyone's got to go. It's like your own ladder. You got to climb it yourself. And now these people, in using their tones and vibrations, pull them back through time. In the beginning, when these beings started coming back, they were coming back to talk to their ancestors, meaning that those custodians that I was telling you about that manage the spiritual world would talk to the ancestors from the future to find, hey, what's things looking like up there? Shoot, why not? Oh, in 20 BC, there's actually this weird situation going on with the planet. You're going to need to get to the Alps. All right, we'll holler at you when we get there. See, it's like a telephone to the future. How do we avoid certain things? And you're just basically talking to yourself. But when they started communicating, they meaning the ones who stole the knowledge, usurped the knowledge, they tried to communicate with the being and then harness the being. Okay, this is known as riding the bull. This is the Sumerian knowledge of why they wanted to why they show themselves domesticating all the animals. So meaning when you pull some powerful force, humans are powerful back through time and then meaning back through their consciousness in an old state of mind. What we're doing around now, this is petty. Like we're driving around in cars, burning oil, black snake. Come on, this is not, we have even stored within our minds dreams of something greater. So why would we not choose those dreams? You see? So this is what we know. Like we've been dragged pulled back down through time. And now we got to finish this once and for all. And that's why I said I'm not backing down. I'm going to go forward with my mission. My mission is 360 degrees. Meaning that if you understand the degrees, and I'll finish with this and just take a moment for everyone to digest and for questions to come out. The degrees, okay, because it's the most important thing.
Okay.
Degrees are the unit used to measure fire, okay? Right? Heat is measured by degrees. Knowledge is also measured by degrees. Master's degree, okay? This is because fire and knowledge are synonymous, if you want to know what the secret societies are doing. A 32nd degree means that he can hold 32 degrees of the demon. Now, the demon is there was 33 that fell. They say a third of them fell. The demon is the third state of the consciousness. Okay, this is when the consciousness is like in the corner of the pyramid. This is like consciousness is not aware of all of that. It's actually everything. It's still thinking that there's racism, separatism. It's in a prism or prison. Okay, so this 32nd degree means that they can hold 30. The highest in their ranks is 33. So, but he can hold 32 of the degrees of this energy. Mm-hmm. Okay, because it's all energies. So what of the being that can hold 360 degrees? And this is what they found out. That no one man could hold the full power of God. It was a group thing, meaning the full power of the Supreme Being is a group thing. You actually have to share it. It's open source. Because it has so much power that one person trying to access it, which some have tried accessing parts of it even through mantra, and it ends up crazy. It's just too much for them. But if everyone was connected together, we can access it because we have all of the components that are necessary. We function as one complete body. But when we're divided, this is like you don't have a heart. You're the Tin Man. You don't have you don't have legs. Where's your legs? Where's your ground? Where's your roots? Do you know your history? I don't know. You don't have a head. No leader. You don't have arms, nothing to interact, nothing to feel with. So this is how humanity is, right? And so this is also, there's lots of metaphors for this. There's even the body of Osiris, split into parts. There's tons of metaphors, Tiamat, split in half. All they're saying continuously is that the power that they have is in division, just separating us, getting us to war because we're not communicating. We're using language to talk to each other when we need to use our feelings. So this is the code that was revealed, that the languages that we're dealing with create conflict. And I won't get into the deeper levels of that, but just to understand this, remember in the Old Testament, God's pissed off. Germanic god Gud, the king of kings, this is a physical being, Rex Mundi, is pissed off because this knowledge, especially from the East, is teaching people how to go even to higher levels to where they're not even under the dominion of the planet anymore. And so it decides in its council, remember there had to be more there because it let us go down and confuse them. Down means they were living on top of the mountains, not in heaven. Let us go down and confuse them. With what? Language. Language was the key and the tool used by this God, which I found to be malevolent, to throw this entire world array. So if you think about it, is it that serious? Can language actually affect an entire world? It's the program. It's the program. You think in it. See, the child, your baby, is not thinking in English yet. When it doesn't learn it yet, it doesn't say, oh, there goes mommy. It just does something else. And that something else, that form of communication, is your power. That's why I wanted to add to what Kate was saying the other day. Nobody knows your name. You may not even know it. But once you find it out, that's where your power is. That's why it's an anagram for Amen, meaning that's the end of the foolishness. That's the end of the physical world. Your name is a vibration. It's not John. It's not James. It's not Jeff. It's not any of the Mike, Susan, Tisha. It's none of these. Okay? Those are too limited. It's like an orchestra. And when you get into the right state of consciousness, your third ear, which I don't hear too many people talking about because I still think they're playing about really having a third eye open. But the third ear opens up and it's holophonic. And then you hear this sound, these tones that you know you'll never hear again. They'll never be played twice. That's what the human being is. It plays this sound that'll never be played twice. So just understand your value. It's like in an ogre's hand, a singing jewel box. You see what I mean? So that's where we have to build the self-worth back into ourselves and realize that, man, look at what you're sitting on. Like this type of equipment right here, you can go and buy an iPhone 5 or a Gear 2 or a Galaxy S or whatever, but you're trying, man, this is pure organics. Like, look at it. It's splendid. They're still trying to figure out what's going on in here. So if you know about yourself and you know about your insides, you know about how you function, right, then you know the universe. And that's the secret to alchemy. Alchemy wasn't just about taking the substances that were derived from alchemy. It was seeing that the actual processes actually teach you the knowledge of how the entire world works. And like everything that remains under the speed of light for too long turns into lead or Saturn. Meaning that if you stay down here too long, that's why they say an angel in the world for a day, that's 1,000 years, becomes opaque. They're referring to you. You're the angel creature. You're the supreme being creature. If you stay down below the speed of light, meaning something says it has its foot on you, earth is my footstool, heaven is my footstool, and you're wretch, and all this, dominion, domingo, meaning Sunday, the sun trying to reign over you, right? You stay in that for too long, you'll start thinking that you're not magnificent. It's already happened, right?
Sevan, on that, while you get yourself a drink there, just want to listen to everything that you're saying here now. I'm thinking about my stance and listening to other people, that my sort of quest for the realization that we are all powerful. Is that me being too much with the ego, that I know that we're all powerful, and I know that I'm all conquering, and I know that nobody can touch me because I believe in myself and I'm confident, etc., on a very basic level. Is that? I mean, am I actually entrapped still in the matrix for actually thinking that way, or am I on the right track, just going in different areas, if you like?
I mean, you're on the right track. If you can visualize a cosmos, which is, the spiral galaxy, and see that as an individual person, each of those, and then imagine a meteor coming through it and knocking some of those planets offline and cracking certain things, then that universe is no longer perfect. So when this happens lifetime after lifetime, now imagine that galaxy is DNA. And so the individual's DNA may have taken a lot of impacts and a lot of collisions. Like I met a doctor that he knew all about this. He was from India. He was like a Mohinder. It's like, he said, look, man, you got to understand when you come in here, because you move, when you're out of the body, you move like a ball of light, i.e. a comet, a magnetar. But when you take impact, it hits you on you may impact a certain side. That automatically, that side that you hit, when that side is weakened, it determines your incarnation as a male or a female. So then as you're continuing to spiral out, you may hit into certain things before you land. And now when you come into that world, you will have those impediments. So inside of everyone, yes, is a perfected being. It actually still exists on the level of the quark, because the quark or the monatomic is outside of time. That's why monatomics affect gravity. So outside of time, it's still perfect. But while we're in time, yes, there's been damage to each vehicle, and this is the reason why. you see some people like, you're like, okay, I know what you're talking about. It sounds great, and you're talking about a lot of good stuff, but I know quite a few people that I know they're not going to be doing any emancipation. That's based on the tools that you're using. That's why this whole term was stolen, this light worker term. First of all, a light worker is a person who can deal with the tones from the entire spectrum. This is ancient Kemetic knowledge of being able to use the spectrums that come from a prism, like when you see those colors come out the prism, as a vehicle for healing. So if you see a person's aura, if you're a seer, you can notice that the imbalance in their chakra center based on their color. And then all you have to do is send the opposing color into it to cancel out the imperfection. Right? That's a light worker. Okay? And then what that then does, it works on an entirely different level. There's no conversation, there's no talking, there's no pamphlets. That's what we're dealing with here. That's the power that we have. And you can even, some of these things have now even been capsized into technological items, meaning that you can still grab a large triangular piece of glass, they sell them in China, and focus the sun's light via magnifying glass into that prism and shine a quite large array of a rainbow spectrum on the ground. And then you have all the colors right there. So if you need regeneration, there's your green. If you want to go into high levels of communication, there's your ultraviolet. They're all laying right there. And so you can put your water on one, put your food on another. You see, so that's a light worker. Okay? And so that's also, when you get familiar with that, then, you try greater feats, like going in there with your auntie and trying to see if you can balance out her system. But like this works always crawling before walking. This is not a genie in the bottle. That's the whole problem now, right? Is this whole instantaneous manifestation. Instantaneous manifestation actually on this planet, because of the cog, is making babies. That's why most people that make babies aren't prepared for the baby when it comes. Because the manifestation was too fast. It's like, I want a baby. I want to create a whole nother duplicate of me. I want a clone. You see, some people, they always run around pointing. That's why if you do the external thing and you keep blaming Illuminatis and all that, you'll miss it. You can't see the forest for the trees. It's you. You're the Illuminati. You're everything. When you don't take care of babies, you're the Illuminati. So what's your excuse? You see what I mean? So the whole birth, even of Cain, shows you the original sin. Cain was birthed when Adam and Eve, this is all a metaphor, didn't even know how to take care of children. They didn't even have the knowledge for that. So that reflected on Cain. But Cain became our king. He became our priest because he was the strongest. He was the first child. He was the one with the horns. He's the Minotaur, again, I'm saying he because it's also a she. In Hebrew, he means she. Was trapped in the middle of the maze, meaning trapped in the middle of earth. Is earth not like a maze? So then when you think, oh my goodness, now I know the story of the demon, man, this is a part of your history. This is a part of your physical body and how your physical body came out of the matter, Ma, right? Mm-hmm. This is the knowledge that Ma's sons or Masons are attempting to hold. Freemasons, actually. I had talked to this Freemason, and I said, the Mason says, no, Freemason. And I said, oh, okay, I get it. Now I know. Free is the name of Pharaoh. You're a Mason that works for Pharaoh. Exactly. He said, and there's accepted ones. Some are not accepted, meaning they are not under the king.
Yeah.
So this kind of thing, you have to know these kind of dynamics, and this is why we started realm dynamics. In conclusion, like we started something because this could all be a bit much if you already are trying to do this over a modern curriculum, right? It's like this breaks the entire. This goes against everything you know, because they taught you, right? So that's why the deprogramming thing is really unique, because it's about getting back in there. First of all, you cannot deprogram something if you're in fear yourself, right? So the first thing that happens to a lot of people that are bringing this message is there's things that they won't say. They've experienced some stuff. But there's things that they won't say because they don't want to lose that fringe, or actually it's not even the fringe, it's the masses of their crowd. Like if you say something about Jesus, you'll lose about 80% of the people right away. You see what I mean? So they float in the line. But if you do that, like Kate was saying, you're either in or you're not in. You see the guidelines also to becoming mandamus or the enforcer, because in the past you had guys like Martin Luther King, You got guys like Mahatma Gandhi. You had many different people that actually worked for the controllers and didn't even know it. So when it came time for their protection, their shield, they didn't have any because they had still not been in the know about that the same thing you're saying, Martin Luther King, MLK, Moloch, because that's what comes out of Ethiopia in Haile Selassie, is the same structure that is actually the demise of our entire race. But because you don't know that, now notice how you can then be judged for what you don't know. So that's why I'm very serious about this. I always say this is still a serious thing. Like, I'm not trying to play. I may come into this and, you may laugh about certain things, and that's just all because it's an interesting story. But in principalities, because I still have to deal with principalities at the end of the day, that's the real life for me, meaning that principalities, rules, and dominion, who is actually controlling you and who do you report to? So if you cannot say self and all is self, the reason why you have to understand that last part, and I'll clear this up. Who are you reporting to? Self. Because in a torsion field, the energy must go in. It must be pulled in and then sucked through your apex or pinion and then spit back out. And this is your torus field. You cannot be going the other way and spitting out your energy to something else and expecting it to give back because of the highest level of knowledge that you're introduced to, which will explain to you that all is self. This happens through experience. Because once you get on some of these higher planes, if you're into the scary thing, it's a wrap already because you're going to see things that are not phi. This is what's ugly to us. Anything that's not on phi is ugly to us. Okay? So people who are further away from phi actually become what we call ugly people. So in other dimensions that are not functioning on phi, all those creatures are quote-unquote ugly to us. So if we don't immediately realize that all is self and that they are us, the fear shuts down you being able to get into that dimension. But once you shut down the fear, you pass right through all these dimensions as if you're going through a tube. That's the concave triangle, the 528 Hertz cymatic pattern. You're going right through a tube of concave triangles and you're passing the world. So long, goodbye. And you're not focusing on what you're seeing because you're actually flying into a solar tube. You're going up the pipe. You're not taking a download. Okay? And then that's when you get to center of galactic core. And then at that point, nobody can tell you what's going to be happening next because it's going to be unique to you. You'll figure out the sun's not hot. You'll figure out that there's many beings that are in league with you, meaning that they're representing awakening humanity just like you are, just as sure as you take a breath, because they actually are breath. They actually are water. They are the main core substances that while we still play this volley back and forth with different forms of each other, we still need to drink water, right? We still need to. So we're never alone is what I'm saying. Remember, the most powerful here, and that's why I work with water. I purify water. A big part of my whole thing, I got it's in the water part 90 right now, which is us continuously going into the deep levels of purifying the water because you're 70% water. Restructuring water, realizing water per drop has 200,000 panels of memory per drop of water. And so if that memory is already full with the cesspool of the neighborhood, and then you drink it, that's your vibration and frequency. So all you have to do to remove that is use ultraviolet light. Ultraviolet not only burns bacteria off of water, it actually also burns negative entities. That's why when you see in the scary movie, they throw ultraviolet light out there and the skin of the negative entity starts burning and all that. It's a real thing because it's a frequency thing. So that's all I have to say about this is that, remember, this is a frequency thing. So if you understand and master frequency, if you realize that sound is shape is color, you can start making your emancipation and your way back to the universal language.
So,
go ahead.
Sorry, no, continue.
No, I was saying that then all of it actually starts to merge into itself. This is when it no longer really has power over you because you start really, man, this is all the same thing. Whether it's Ramses, whether it's Akhenaten, or whether it's Yaldabaoth, or whether it's any damn body anyone who wants some kind of power and me to bow down and some kind of this and some kind of that, but is already on the elated state, that must be false, because that has nothing to do with the elated state. And the elated state is actually self-substantiation. That's saying that I actually don't need you to say thank you. I actually don't need you to apologize to me. I actually don't need to put you down, and I don't actually need you to put me up, because I'm self-sustained. I'm moving on perpetual energy, and then you're not a predator. Because other than that, all the human beings that continue to feed off of other human beings, you're in a predatory stage. Like, remember, our goal is that we work our way back up the ladder from first. Many of us have started eating meat. Even yours truly. Younger, I was eating meat. I stopped 10 years ago. Okay? But it is the first it's a plasmic fuel, but it's very low vibratory because the plasma is dead. And that's, of course, why real carnivores eat the meat within 5 minutes, because other than that, it's dead. And, of course, you have cults that are playing around with that, and that's all I'll say with that. So the next level, though, when you get a little bit more faster, high spin, you go into vegetables. The junk food vegetarian generally comes next. This is the person who, they still need the French fries. They still need this kind of stuff, but they're not eating meat. Okay? And then finally the cooked food vegetarian starts. This is the person who realizes that they can supplement all this stuff and things that taste like it for just vegetables that are cooked. And then after that person does that, there's always this 2 or 3 year phase, depending upon the person's health and status, that they can go raw vegan. Raw vegan is only a certain period of a certain power that you need to access, or just not necessarily doing raw vegan, but lowering the total intake of these kind of substances for a moment so the higher chakras can actually develop. Because remember, the higher chakras develop in a person's consciousness. They're not based on age. The lower chakras are based on the age, like puberty. The root chakra develops at a certain time by default. But the higher chakras, they don't develop unless you motivate them to develop. So this is when you start going into these vegan phases. Then when you start getting the consciousness in tune, you realize that you're actually, quote unquote, and we're figuring out better words to use, but superhuman, meaning that you actually have an ability to go through and absorb other substances and be able to inherit their energies. This means that from enzymes to algae, funguses, to colloidal minerals, to monatomics in Ayurveda, that all these substances from plant life all the way up to mineral life, you can actually put in your body, and it has sometimes vivid, depending on how subtle you are, effect on you. So this then is the exploration point. Now you're experimenting with yourself. Great. You're back into the control seat again. So this is then, as you keep moving, I'm not going to stop, some actually emancipate to figuring out the key to water. Because water can hold so much energy. If you configure the water properly, you only need to live off water. And we've heard of some people like this, right? And then, obviously, these are more pure fuels. That's all you're doing. Now you're in a Bugatti Veyron is what I'm telling you, Giovanni. And you can't run a Bugatti Veyron on regular gas. So when you get into these high elements and high substances, because you're an imploder, you're basically a power plant, literally. You start putting in these super fuels, it's a whole other thing. Okay, so because you have the energy to actually power your higher states of consciousness, which work like wheels. It's just all like a motor. That's where they stole all this stuff from that they're building. So in conclusion, water, right, then learns, as he's right on this top of this ladder, that I can actually do this through air. It's a certain quality air, though. Don't believe it's New York air. It's actually a certain quality of air generally found in the Himalayas and these higher mountain ranges, that the air is containing so much energy because all of the particles that later on become physical are mostly up there, because that's what's separating them from down here. We learned this in simple geometry and these kind of things, right? So now that air you're breathing, and because you have the vehicles to process it, you have the actual processing stations. What I'm telling people is the chakras are the processing stations. Look at the Terra papers. They talk about how, they're so external on it still. That's why I question that story. But if you look at it internally, what they're saying is that even Uranus, they have to take certain elements from Earth, and then there's another processing station on Uranus, and then they have to take it from Uranus and then to another place. No. It's all internal, though. What's happening is that as you develop higher chakras, you can start pulling the elements out of the air. Air gets you high. A high priest. What is he high on? Air. An Aryan. But some Aryans left that area and actually ended up using the knowledge for corruption. So I will clear that up. But now that you're on air, Once you breathe, and this is something that I've experienced, and you super oxygenate the body, this means that you actually start breathing. You're doing this for about it only takes me 30 minutes in a technique called whole body breathing. What happens is so much oxygen builds up in your blood, and you start feeling like woozy a little bit, kind of like what you would feel like when you're about to pass out. But as a trained meditator, you actually don't pass out. And then that's when you go into the zone. You actually stop breathing, but you don't think about it. And then you glide out of the body, out of what's called the back door. And that is the access to the astral plane, okay? And this is when that's called a breatharian. That's what a real breatharian is capable of doing. Because the body gets into this rhythmic breathing, and then it stops to realize that it's even not breathing because of the oxygen in the blood, and then you can float it out. You can float out, and it stays hot. And that's all I'll say about this because we're at the hour. But I had to clarify again that it stays hot. Because remember, you can't come out of your body and then leave your body for too long as a soul. Because the body just gets cold and it dies. So if there's a death on the line, they may say, well, I don't know, you can't get out of the body. And I'm clarifying that because I'm sure there's going to be some deaths that listen. But you cannot get out of the body unless you have implosion in the blood, because the implosion in the oxygen in the blood, that's why I said oxygen. It keeps the jinn are hot. They keep the body warm while you glide as another state of consciousness. It's beyond all the things.
Okay.
To another state of consciousness.
Okay, Sevan. Okay, Sevan. Now we've got about half an hour with yourself. Just a couple of questions. Distilled water. This is something that I've been drinking for 5 years, and now people say yes, and no. Where are you at on that with regards to just what you're saying with the breatharian and the water, etc.?
I got what I call good, better, best.
Okay.
And what good, better, best is about is that, you deal with what you can get. To me, personally, I still feel like distilled water, any way you cut it, is going to be better than tap water. Mm-hmm. Just by sheer ppm. But what I did realize that there was an issue with the distilled water because of the structuring and the mineralization.
Okay.
And the reality is that when the water goes through the distillation process, especially when it's not an ultraviolet distiller, which there's two different kinds of distillers. There's one that just use the fan, and then they use the coil, and then they cool down the coil, and then they take the extraction from the steam. Mm-hmm. And then there's the real distillers, which are used in the laboratory because they can't actually have even 0.1 or 0.001 ppm in that water when they're running the laboratory experiment. Because whatever is in that 0.001 ppm is actually super concentrated. So it's going to affect the experiment. So they need 0.00000 ppm. And the only way to accomplish that is through ultraviolet light. And that was through the biggest scam that happened with the Chinese people trying to sell their distillers and bump out the American companies that were selling real UV distillers. But you can still get some. There's a guy he's on the internet. He has an orgone distiller. But anyway, let me keep going with this. So what happens is with the distilled water, once it's distilled, the structure is broken. That means that actually the pinions in the water, what you would see as the lattice work, is completely tore down because that's what happens when you do that. You're basically removing all the mineral structures. So there's no minerals in the water, and the water is actually not structured. Again, this is still better than tap water because it's better than drinking poison, drugs. There's drugs in the tap water. There's all sorts of stuff in that 150 ppm, 276 ppm. That's dope, basically. So distilled water is better. But listen, there's simple things you can do first. What I did was, especially if I'm on the land, meaning that I'm not around all the equipment, I get the mineral drops. That there's actually some good minerals, and I have a link. You'll have to hit me up on the email. But there's some good minerals that come from places that they pull sea salt. And the sea salt contains all the minerals that are necessary to put back in the water. And that's going to keep your bones and different things from starting to get other situations, especially as you get older. And then the next level, of course, is that now if you're using a UV distiller, it's already restructuring the water. But if you're using one of the other distillers, then you have to create some kind of magnetic tube with the poling magnets, north-south, 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 with both of the magnets pushing into that tube, and then run the water through that tube. Because then what it does is it realigns the ions, and that's the first level of structured water. So just remember, good, better, best. You could go crazy with the water like right now. I have high-powered lasers shining through crystals, smearing the essence and the energy into water. and then bouncing it back off a mirror to push it back into the crystal.
Wow.
And so that's like supercharging the water. But remember, this water, this is no placebo, my guy. When you drink this water, your head trickles. Like it feels like it's like electricity, but it's really more magnetic. And you feel like there's a lattice work around you. That's like, another way of, some people say, some people discover the matrix in entirely different means. Sometimes when you go into high vibrations, at a certain point, you feel like there's this web around you. And literally, if you pull your skin or pull your forehead or whatever, it goes out and you let it go and it pops back. And you're like, what the hell? And it's because you're basically interacting with your other mesh. So remember, it's going to take a minute, but I'm not selling you one here. So the future has a date with this. The most advanced are already, because you can find this stuff in nature. I'll tell you one riddle. Your culture is the same thing like a live laboratory. It is a petri dish. Mm-hmm. Okay, when they say they're going to make a culture and they're going to put it in the petri dish, that means that they're about to cultivate something. So if something takes your culture, then it affects your development, right? It can also retard you. So all you need now is to be put back into the right culture, put into the minerals, basically, and then as you grow, you'll take root. And then all this stuff that I'm actually talking about will become apparent. And so the world has actually a date with this. And so it's kind of interesting to me because I'm just hanging out. Maybe I'll be here for 10 years before people have completely figured it out. I don't know. But it doesn't even matter to me because I'm already stepping outside of time. Because the world here, and I'll conclude with this, will experience time travel within the next 5 to 10 years. There's no way it can't. And this is why. And I explained this on Kate's show for the first time. Parapsychology is the study of all this stuff that we're talking about, but it's from a scientific perspective. And they've held on to this for the last 300 years. Let's say 300 years. The first 100 years of that 300 years were men that were so dense that they would align themselves with whatever kind of warlike person and just go and do the worst, right? The next 200 years, or 100 years, birthed a man that cared a little bit more, men and women that care a little bit more because they have family, they have children, they start thinking about, hey, what am I doing? But still not enough to start emancipating other people and to start believing in some of the greater things. But then the third generation comes through, and they develop what I'm just terming the gooey gooey. It's basically someone that you love and care about, that no matter how corrupt, no matter how evil and how stingy you are, that once you start seeing this person shrivel up and get ready to experience what billions of souls or spirits have already experienced, a.k.a. death, then you start thinking about all the shit you're doing and how it's really, it's possible that all the money that you have and all this stuff can really get another state of consciousness to figure out this whole death thing for your daughter or for your wife. Because it actually holds that potential. But it also holds the potential, the only way to unlock that potential is to actually give up all of that. And you will find that people, once they realize this, especially the wealthy, will give it all up in the hopes of actually reuniting with those that they love because that's their gooey gooey. Watch what I say. So with organizations like the parapsychology, there's big organizations. I'm telling you, there's hundreds of thousands of people that are trying to study the phenomenon of what happens after death. But the issue is that the overarchs of those organizations are, of course, initiated. So they can't tell them certain things. Like all of what I talked to you about today, they cannot tell them. And it's because much of the stealing of the knowledge and the usurping of the people and all that kind of stuff happened by their lineage. They can literally go in their books, and that's why they have their roots. They can go in their books and they can see who their great-great-grandma, their great-great-great-great-grandfather is, right? While you may be only able to go a couple generations back. Now, obviously for the Europeans, they tend to be able to go back a lot further than for the Africans. You see what I mean? So once we start restoring everyone's roots, instilling with them the power that they need to cultivate properly, that's when the body aligns and awakes. And all I'm saying is that what's happening here now, and don't count these people out that you think are so cold and callous, because now we're working with their heart chakra. What they care about most, they've already received a decree that they will continue to lose that life after life after life unless they release this power, this spiritual power, this kundalini, the knowledge of it. It has to be released. That's the only way that we have enough power to close this idea of time, to go back down the tunnels of time, to pull out our loved ones and the things that we forgot, all the bright ideas, all of who we are, and actually bring them back into the point of one, that consciousness, that being present. So that's what we're talking about. So I'm giving you just a glimpse of how the metamorphosis would take place. But I don't want people to think at all that this is not something that's happening already.
So it's just something that I'm sort of big on recently, and I'm becoming aware of, and I want you to help, because I know there's a lot of people who think in this way along with myself. I'm quite taken by certain symbols, the template, the Maltese cross, etc. There seems to be something that I'm getting drawn to more and more as I feel like I'm awakening and I'm learning, because I'm far away from where I need to be. But what is that draw to these symbols all the time? And I'm hearing a lot of other people seeing it. It's not that I'm religious or anyway, but I keep getting drawn to that.
Well, the symbols in many instances are triggers, because what originally symbols are, and you have to have some of the old diagrams, but they're called Mason marks. And this is not about like Freemasons of what we know today. This is about ancient Commentans actually carving souls to be in a certain form by using words, which when you play them out cymatically, they make these symbols, like the Maltese cross and these kind of things. But there is one thing that I noticed, because I had that exact same question as I was getting a lot of triggers from the symbolism, that I noticed is the difference between the symbols of what you would say is the ancient schools or the authentic schools. They don't bear straight lines. The difference is that the higher schools of nature and knowledge and the massive of all there is uses curves, concaves, convex, right? While the worldly systems, they straighten it. So, like for instance, the pattern of the 528 herds, when you put it into straight lines, is the Sri Yantra. But when you break it back down into curves, it's a certain pattern that you see when the third eye opens. So if you're just looking at the Sri Yantra, you need to be initiated to know that the Sri Yantra is the concave triangle pattern that meshes over the third eye. Versus if you look at the pattern that's concave triangles meshed over the third eye, it actually activates you. So this changes the system, because one system says if you do this, you'll get this result. The other system says that if you do this and you do everything that we want you to do, maybe you'll get this result. You see what I mean? So it's not like a carrot. This is not a carrot in front of the rabbit type system when you're talking about curved in the real levels of spiritual waxing strong and all that. But the straight line brotherhoods and these kind of things are nothing like what the brotherhoods used to be in the past. They're like businesses. That's why money was exchanged in the temples, because the temples were the only places that all the kings, princes, all these people felt was safe to keep your jewels and all your wealth. And this is because the temple was always known to be protected by the priests. So this is the kind of thing that sets things into real perspective for us.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, this is again, it's an interesting point where people, it's another control method, I feel.
It's a path. I mean, control. Like, we have to at times realize that. How are you speaking English right now? You learned it. How are you even walking right now? You learned it. So it's not always bad to have a teacher. It's bad when we have a liar. You see what I mean? So it's these teachers. These are steps on the ladder. Like I always say at the end of the day, look, the Christianity and these symbols and masonry, whatever you're talking about, as long as you keep moving, you'll figure it out. It's only when you get stuck on that ladder. Because I went through the Islam, I went through the Christianity, and I just kept moving because there was, as I kept reading, the more became available. And I couldn't deny truth. If you get into that, it's a horrible conviction. Mm-hmm. So what happens is you keep expanding. These are all steps. So they're at least respected as that. But remember what respect is. And I just want to, if it's closing time, I want to close with this. This is why every being used to respect each other on these three-dimensional planes. Because everyone knew they were powerful. There was no ego tripping about, I think I'm more powerful than you. That was never possible. You see what I mean? So the only expression was respect, because any other expression is like a challenge. Do you see what I'm saying? So this is why when you go to these ancient cultures, the Japanese still, they bow to each other. And, you talk to some of the deeper people, they much love, much respect. They come at you like that, and this is because they're used to dealing with benevolent forces. Benevolent forces are not into the power game. They already are very well aware that they're actually everything, so they have all power. So the only thing left in expression is just respect. So this is the type of system now that has been destroyed because obviously people don't respect each other. So now because people don't respect, there's always wars because now if you don't respect me, now I got to show you why you got to respect me, right? So this is what creates the matrix. So think about it then. Certain things then, even as simple as respect, can take a world from being otherwise a magnificent place where it's not even about just respecting anybody anymore. It's like, look, man, let's stop with disrespect, bowing down. Look, let's just build. What can you do? Look, I'm going to display what I can do to you. Right? Because that's what we get into. Anytime you do something great, a benevolent person, anytime they do something great, what do they want to do? Share it with others. Their joy actually only comes when they share it with others. Them just keeping it themselves, they don't have the magnitude of what they need to feel. So if we're constantly in that direction, which we do naturally, we naturally share. That's how we work, because there was abundance here. Man, look at the countries that are here, the trees and the plants and the food and all this kind of stuff, especially the vegetation. It's just, there's no shortages. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, we need we don't need to do anything. This is what you get to do. I always say that you don't have to do anything. Like, it's going to happen regardless. But if you want to be the early bloomer, if you want to be the one that gets in the know now, if you want to get outside of time, if you want to talk Time Lords, Psychonauts, Stargates, if you want to do it real, though, meaning that the real deal, because it's accessible, if we can think about it, then it actually is on the dimension. There's even things on the dimension that we can't even think about right now. Then this is how to actually get into it. And this is a step-by-step process. As I say, get into it. Get into yourself. It's a step-by-step process. It's not a genie in the bottle. And it works. It's been tried and tested. And that's what the resistance really is. Resistance2010.com is the archive of me personally just going through the process along with thousands of people and us commenting on it to see the synchronistic connection. Obviously, me and Kate, all of us, we met through the platform. And the platform was developed off the book, The Code of the Matrix, which was just me giving everyone everything that I knew. And through that gesture, I've been able to accumulate personally more love than anything I've ever done in my life. And that was because I gave the book away. So notice how even sometimes you can have a great, magnificent work, and it can spoil with just one action. But when I gave that book away, it turned the tables for me. It turned my entire energy field. Because it's one simple thing, and I just got to get this stuff out because these are the rudimentary building blocks. If you're always trying to receive, you're a receiver. You're actually intensive energy, you're female. That's why whether you're actually in the higher state of things, flesh is always seen as female because it's always receiving. It doesn't matter if the person's a man or a woman. Okay? So when you're saying, I need this, I need God, please give me, blah, 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 whatever, you're a receiver. So this is what I was talking about, going through the straight pipeline and becoming a giver, a doer, active, out. Right? And so that also is the knowledge of the papacy or the phallic symbol. They corrupted the knowledge, but the original knowledge is solar. It is a ray. It sprays out. It is a giver. Like the sun rises up in the day, like we don't have to do anything, right? So this is the person who knows about the subjective plane, knows about being a more massive being, because a more massive being, it gives energy to everyone that wants that energy. Why? Because everything that the person develops and does off that energy, it can live through. Do you see how that works? So if that confused you, just think about it on a business level. If you have an idea and I fund your idea, now I have a part of your idea. Your idea is actually my idea too. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. So this is the power of the giver. The giver actually, now I'll cross it back over because it's important to see this as energy. If you give individuals the energy that they need to carry out something, whatever they carry out, you have a part of, for better or for worse. So don't be one of those who get convicted of the ill distribution of the goods committed to their charge. What does that mean? That means all your power and all your talents, and that's where we began this conversation. Your talents. This was known as a unit of currency in the Bible, a talent. If you sow it, because they're like seeds, if you plant it somewhere and you don't watch it and you don't tend it, it will work against you. Just as a child that you don't watch and tend and you let it grow up, it'll start working against you. So remember, everything is like that. Be choicey. But remember, this doesn't always have to be. This is not a punishment system. Flip it around in your mind and realize, okay, well, if my energy is a seed and I plant this energy into something that I know is fertile, then I have to reap. Exactly. These are the laws of the universe. The whole sun would stand still in the sky if it didn't happen that way. So forget the hocus pocus. That's the person that's on the other side, the receiving side. And become the active, knowing that what you do will hold true. Your word is not going to come back void. Your word is your world. You are the world. You are the will. Through your will, meaning W-I-L-L, all things can be accomplished. So this is what we're talking about. And at the end of this, Giovanni, remember, so those other people then, because if you can see that DNA like a wheel, when they hit something, it gets a chip in the wheel. So you ever seen a wheel that's out of balance? Or you've seen Earth, right, because it's on a wobble. But because a wheel is an oar. But when you see a wheel out of balance, right, then it starts to wop, and it's not as, what do they call that, when your car is very efficient, right? If you have a perfect circle wheel, it's efficient. But if it's not, it slows down, and it goes into a lower frequency, right? Okay. So that's what you're dealing with here, is that when you can perfect wheels, because it sounds like this is what you want to get into, especially with people, when you can perfect those wheels, they say you can make a cripple climb trees. It's not a negative gesture or one that is joking. You can actually do miraculous things. This is what, when Apollonius of Tyana figured this out, he became Jesus. That's the deepest level of the knowledge of the Rosicrucian and the Rose and the Cross and Mary. The Apollonius of Tyana and his knowledge of the pentagram, which he gained from Pythagoras, the old Python, gave him the ability to know Phi, which was actually creating the shells that created the human body. So thus they built the immortal kingdom of Charlemagne. So do you see those symbols that you're seeing, those crosses, bear witness to the gates that are on Charlemagne's world? Because what happened was, and I'll just finish this, because remember, there's still Gaelics, there's still Nords who sailed north. Not all of them were the evil Vikings. They sailed north and they popped right out the other side and realized the world was hollow. Then met the other giants, basically the other cog of time of the beings that lived before us that were benevolent. So these are the worlds that the immortals built, and they have access to their worlds through the runes. So some people will always like to discredit other people's cultures and systems, but I think that once we bring this whole thing together, we'll bring all the worlds back together. Asgard and Midgard and all the rest of them, all those worlds, even the netherworlds, and all these will come back together, and it's like Russian dolls, my friend. And this is what the chakras are too. And you can watch Dynamo Jack, the Qigong master, because he says it very quick in his video. He says, look, I collapse the Dantain into the Muladhara, meaning I collapse all these negative forces into my stomach, into the lower part, and I pull them together. And once I pull them together, it makes this energy. And he said the healing part, because he shows how he sets this piece of paper on fire. He's curing people through like this electric acupuncture with his hand. But he says this is only the beginning. Because when you learn how to project a yin field, then that is the field in which spirits can exist and manifest themselves. So he literally admits that our world is devoid of a specific kind of energy that allows our ancestors to manifest. You see? So that's why I say, man, sometimes be the fly on the wall in the video. Don't be looking directly at what's going on, but listen to what's being said and what's not being noticed. And then from anything, even dirt, as an alchemist can do, you'll be able to extract gold. You see, like you can do it from anything. You can do it with PlayStation. You can do it with Oculus. You could do it with a remote control. Every single thing that you see will have this whole different kind of meaning to it, right? So that's what we're talking about.
Sevan, I want to mention your sites, please. I want to spend some time talking about your sites before we finish, my friend.
Okay, well, we have the Resistance 2010, of course, and that's where the archive of information is. That's where you're going to get basically the communication hub. There's thousands of recordings, pictures, all sorts of stuff there, and just connections to all the information. And then there's Realm Dynamics, which is actually the new thing, like it's our push into the realm and to establish ourselves as an authority. And that is basically as a 24-hour spiritual help desk and also a station of activation. We activate humans, and we're not playing. And there's nothing that's going to be hindering it, because to hinder it would only be to hinder itself. So that's how the things are working together, meaning that there's ways to find loopholes to what you do benefits all species, even those that think that they're malevolent. This is called the Wu Wei. The Wu Wei is when you can use something else's energy, especially if it thinks that it's powerful, against it. So any kind of Illuminati forces get the Wu Wei. Any kind of horn god minotaurs have to pull the load. You see what I mean? None of the demons are able to be externalized. And this is what I'm telling people, the power of this. Remember, AstroQuest.com, Resistance2010.com, RealmDynamics.com. The power of this is restored back within you. And all this stuff you just eat. Meaning, you know, it's like bitter medicine. You just realize, because isn't that the hardest thing to do, though? If people think that that's the hardest thing to do, is to think that somebody else on this place that may be just crazy as hell and done all sorts of bad things has any kind of relation to who you are. So you abandon them. And so don't ye feel abandoned? Meaning that we live in a world, because of any of these levels of separation, we feel abandoned. Like, we have greater tools, and I'm not going to get into another conversation about this, but even for the ones that are all crazy and screwed up, light worker. But the real light worker, not the namaste, not that kind of thing, Stop playing games.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Sevan, just want to say, like I said, we've had some great figures tonight on the show, and many people talk very highly of you, and it's funny that, in this time of so many people going through a second awakening, as it was put on my show a few weeks ago by this chap, said there's a second awakening now. Many people realise, there's a lot of nasty pasties on this earth and things are wrong and there's high corruption, but now we are starting to move away from the infighting. This is right, and we're moving on up, if you like. The way you talk, I can see why now so many people have mentioned you. So I want to say thank you for really everything that you have done and that you continue to do, and I appreciate all your work, and I hope that we can speak again in the future.
For sure. Obviously, you're more than welcome. Thanks for having me on. It's been obviously a blast. We got a lot of levels of information out. There's always something new. It's good to go over the body of information. If anything may have been a little confusing, I'm just telling that to the audience. The more you figure out about yourself, the more all this makes a lot more sense.
It's just been fantastic. I know there's people asking, can we listen to this recorded again? And so for everybody listening to this now, I'll make sure that this is up on the site tomorrow and on Facebook. If you go to Critical Mass site, and we'll get this put out everywhere as we always do. So again, Sevan, I really appreciate your time today. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and you take care, my friend. We'll speak again soon.
All right. Thanks a lot, Paul.
Take care. Ciao. Bye-bye. Okay, guys, we're going to break to a song. We've got about 20 minutes left. There's a few things I just need to go over, and we're going to just have a breath, have a break, and I'll come back, and we will finish off. Just absolutely fantastic. I'm just going to find this song that I wanted to play for. Here we go, and we'll be back straight after this. Okay, guys, we are back with the Critical Mass Show with myself, Paul Giovanni. Right, I'm just going to because we've got a few callers here, and I want to take some calls in the next half an hour. So, guys, T-shirts. I'll be sending the T-shirts out to the relevant people hopefully this week. The Critical Mass Gathering. If you go to criticalmassradio.co.uk, you will see at the top of the page the Critical Mass Radio Gathering. This will be held on the last weekend of August, the 29th, 30th, and the 31st. Tickets £50. Children between 12 and 17 go half price. Children under 11 free. Rob Freeman, Carolyn Powell, Pippa King, Paul Giovanni, myself, Nathan Saria, Kate Simpson, Sarah Goodley, Ben Emily Jones and Ceylon will all be speaking. It's a family weekend. Children are there. There's music, stalls, food, free camping. It's all going on. So please, if you want to book a ticket, do so through the site. You'll see the button next to the flyer at the top of the site. You can just go there and book a ticket, but please do state that you're booking a ticket when you make the payment. Thank you. Right. Also, we now have an app that is available on all applications. So Android, iTunes, we are there everywhere. So you can listen to us 24/7 also. People asking about Rob and Del shows. Yeah, I'm getting all those up and ready for you with the peoplesmandate.co.uk. Rob and Del have been at that all weekend rolling out the preamble, and it's going to be ready. I should be putting that up on the site this week. Okay, I'm going to go to the calls. Okay. Hello, Kate.
Hey, how are you doing?
This is a different way around. How are you? You okay?
Yeah, it's great. That was quite the ride, huh? Told you.
Yeah, I have lost about 2 stone in weight there with all that, just sweating away. Fantastic. I mean, Kate, again, it's just with the way you speak on your shows, every night of the week. Then it just interests me. The whole sort of empowerment is what where I'm at right now, and because we've been disempowered for so long, to listen to yourself, and Sevan there, it is all still within us, yeah.
Yeah, well, again, what Sevan was saying about the roles that we all play here, and that's all about knowing thyself. I mean, the core essence of me is the game piece called Gemini. These are the 12 tribes, and we're all part of the 12 tribes. And the 13th tribe is when we get it all together. So for the mission of the Gemini, the true mission of the Gemini is to return the spirit. Turn that empowerment aspect to give the breath of creation back, and the amount of resonance that Sevan, that I have with Sevan, is immeasurable. We speak the same things from entirely different perspectives, and I love when he shares the way he does, because I'm able to inject what I want to say with his perspective, because it's actually very difficult for me many times to explain that. So again, Sevan's doing his role, I'm doing mine, many others are doing theirs, and really it's just a matter of fine-tuning. That's all. You are God. You are God. I'm here to tell you. And the nagging bitch in the back of your mind saying, wake up. Promise.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, this is the magic that is there that I'm finding out now, that that Rob talks about, and you've listened to George and the station, all these people, that the magic that is there, that all these things that we're told not to believe in, that maybe we see in films, but it's kept there, it's kept at a distance. Wow, I wish that could happen to me. Look at those superheroes go, and this, that, the other, and look at the power that these people have. And when really the term superhuman, Sevan used, that is still there. That is us.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what I say about movies in particular. You see, because once we unveil something through our own tenacity, or whatever it is we do on our paths, as part of the contract, there is only one contract binding everyone here, and this is the contract of the name from the Narmer palette. That is the one thread that connects all threads in the physical powering of the system, what Sevan was saying about the spiritual energy being drawn off. And see, it's drawn off through a contract, an agreement, right? That is the contract, and here it is all about contract. If you're in agreement with something in any way, shape, or form, then you are half of that dance. You are the dance partner with it, and you're the one empowering it. And unfortunately, those that are empowering it goes back to the divine feminine, are not the ones leading the dance. What's happened is the very malevolent aspect of the masculine intent energy was corrupted, and basically leading the divine feminine around by the nose. You might as well be a caveman dragging your female by the hair behind you. You've seen all these. But the movies will, they're getting more and more profound, because in order to keep this contract in place, once we uncover something, they have to show it on this silver screen. Silver being Psi El Ver, which is the spiritual intent of truth. So when you learn how to see these things with your ears and hear them with your eyes, I loved how Sevan made it very simple that sound is just colorless light, right? And that's exactly what it is, because light is, in the inverse, just a higher frequency of sound. And it's the trick of the light from the external that has had us hypnotized. And so I tell people the only way you're going to find you is to shut up, get deep, get dark, get quiet, and spend some time with the most magnificent being in the universe, you. We are all equally powered. And you've heard me talk many times about pedestals and how quickly I'll take a sledgehammer to somebody's forehead if they try to put myself on one. Because what Sevan said so succinctly right out of the gate today was that same concept, is that we're all powerful. Mm-hmm. Who the hell needs to prove it to anybody? An ego does, and that's the program.
Well, it's just mind blowing to think that, and when you like you say get deep with yourself, and that image of sitting there humming in a field, I think it goes way beyond that. Again, those types of images, etc., to me is a control. And you talk about light workers, and like you say now, the sort of basic principles of these so-called light workers that we have today, and it's just nowhere near where we're supposed to be.
Well, again, that's the whole New Cager movement, right? That's one that creates a lot of spiritual valley girls, if you will. They're the ones walking around saying all the clever catchphrases and not have a clue as to what they're saying. And, of course, not having a clue as to what one's saying, given the Phoenician trick of sound and the corruption of the language was by taking one... Do you remember what Sevan said about everyone has their own frequency? That no two frequencies are the same? Well, see, that's what happened with language. As soon as they took a sound and gave it two identities, that was the tearing of the language. That was the duality of the language, and it split the light. And that's really as simple as it is to me.
Well, let's see. Which threw me, I went to ask, was about the organs correspond to planets he mentioned early on.
Oh, yeah, we've covered that many times. Santo has covered that. Bill Donahue touches on that. And again, as within, so without, as above, so below. And the entirety of the universe is contained within each one of us in a fractal. So this is why the most important one that you must look after and take care of and to get to know is you. Because in doing so, the as within that heals is the as without that heals. That's the Ophiuchus, 13th warrior. And that's taking the full responsibility. And literally taking the full responsibility of all of humanity. It's the same allegory as the Christ. The allegory is, are you willing to... it's an allegory, okay? So don't take this literal, guys. Are you willing to die for humanity's sins? And in the allegorical sense, absolutely, because they're mine as well. And... I will never be free until all are free. So this is the game of all come free. Stop being egocentric, selfish, looking after the self. And this is why I get into semantics with people trying to claw away at their own little realities, because I know they're not thinking of anything but themselves. And they're the ones that I will treat like a rabid dog and put down very quickly.
Okay. Something I wanted to just ask you there, if you can clear this up, and I'm just so I make sure I've got this right. We talked about energies before and giving energies to people. Now, there's a lot of people like ourselves who give because people ask and they can't do for themselves. Are we, in fact, making things worse by doing that, by putting ourselves out? Because we always end up knackered, don't we, ill, because we've lost all our energy, and these people go skipping away and we sorted their lives out and off to go. That's wrong then. Not on a selfish level, but are we saying then that's wrong because we're not evolving and we're stopping those people evolving?
Well, again, this is like the story of Jesus and the lepers, right? He healed a bunch of lepers. They all ran off, and only one returned. The ones that ran off are the egocentrics that are only focused upon themselves, and the one that came back was the one that was essentially saying, "Thank you, teach me how I may do this for others." And Sevan nailed it on every level today, so many levels. I just sitting back with a grin on my face because he does it so well. I mean, this is the joy of I love sitting. Sevan was on with us on Saturday night, and we had a great. As soon as Sevan shows up, I get a break. I just sit back and let him download, and like today, as you just let him roll, because he will connect so many dots for people, and that's exactly my intention every night that I do it. I'm just on the air a little bit more. That's all. Again, it's about connecting these dots within ourselves. So when we are going out of our way to help others, and I've covered this many times, if you keep feeding someone a fish, you are starving them of their ability to get up the fishing rod. Because I'll tell you, everyone has their breaking point where they're going to finally say, well, no one's handing me a sandwich every day, so I better get off my lazy ass and do something about it. And if they don't, well, then they're going to collapse anyway. This is why I tell people, stay the course. They are not your concern. By all means, have a helping hand reaching out. But if that helping hand is only one that takes, remember that give-receive thing? Yeah. What you're doing is you're feeding into that paradigm of the parasite psychoses that humanity has been suffering from for so long. So it is better to give than to receive, because if everyone is in that mindset, that's where the true abundance comes back, and you're not dealing with parasites at whatever level, be it someone that's been beaten down, and of course all the ego emotions come in. Oh, but the poor soul, shut up. Okay, I've been down. I know what that shit's about, and you've got two choices, because once you're down, you're not going to go anywhere lower. You're either going to slither like a snake and go sideways, or you're going to finally stand up and dust yourself off and say, you know what, that really sucked. And when you stand up, you're going to notice something about yourself. You're going to be slightly taller. And every time that happens, you will stand up, incrementally taller. So this really is a responsibility that we take upon ourselves. And I love what Sevan said. Yes, the paradigm shift for me was, my website. I've never charged anything for my work on my website. Excuse me. There was a time that I sold CDs. That's all free too. Because one of the things that I realized very quickly with this fiction game, I am not a copyright. I don't copy anything. I'm an original. Only the empty vessels that are sailing these proverbial high seas, ripping off spiritual cargo to fill their empty vessels. I want no part of that, and that is system. And it goes back to what you said just a little while ago. That which we are in agreement with, we are in contract with. So what are you contracting with? So when you hand something out with that, I'm just going to feed somebody and feel great about it, self-serving for a day, and then you walk away. What you've done is you've went into a spiritual contract with that parasitical energy. And that's not to say that we cannot do things for others, by all means. The best thing we can do for each other is teach each other how to fish instead of shoving fishes down our gullets.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
It is simple then, but it's getting trapped in that. Well, you got all that, so why can't you just do that? And why can't you help me out this once? And you've already done it, and that type of thing. And they're the people now that I'm realizing, do you know what? Politely, just go on. I've tried to help you, and you're not helping yourself now, and you're happy to take all my. And I've realized, and a lot of these people are in some kind of a high addiction on something, and it's easy for them in life just to go around, and it's like they've got this plan from day one. I know how to say the right things, wink, 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 nudge, nudge, and I get what I want. And that's what I'm finding why many people are not evolving, because their plan really is, there's a lot of silly people out there who are willing to give all the time.
Well, we're doing it to ourselves, Paul. This is a joke, right? Mm-hmm. Go back to what Sevan said about when you are able to give, in a position to be benevolent, to give, one must be mindful of what... you are, or who you are giving to. Mm-hmm. It goes back to the story of the three slaves, and they buried one of them buried their silver, so nothing came out of it. The other two went off and multiplied, and they were blessed. And the one that was so fearful didn't want to do anything with the silver and give it back to Master. When Master came back, got the living shit beat out of him, and for right reasons. So just to clarify what Sevan was saying, it's so crystal and so pristine. Was when you offer a seed, be it whatever, money, help, sandwich, I don't care, whatever it is, you are going into a contract with that being. And what they do with what was given to them, you are in full contract with. Okay? That is an offshoot, a branch of you. So here's the thing, let's say that there's a serial killer that is homeless on the street, but nobody knows his past or her past, whatever the case may be. So you hand them a sandwich to keep them alive without them confronting the things that they've done. What you're going into contract with, and we have an in common friend, and I've made it very, very, very clear to that individual of outlining the things that were the seeds that were given to me as to what I've done with them, which has given most of it away. Mm-hmm. But it went to the benevolence in that energy.
Yeah.
And I learned very quickly. Right? So we have a great responsibility for the things that we give to others, because upon that acceptance there is a contract. So that contract better be pure and it better be benevolent. And I make sure that anything that I give out, that if anything or anyone uses any of it malevolently, it will destroy them. I've already watched it happen.
Yeah,
don't mess with pure light. Don't.
Yeah,
dangerous.
Yeah, I know what you're saying with, and again, it's just another case of standing in your truth and being true to yourself, which is a big lesson that we're all learning now. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I go back to my early days in this movement, like 4 years ago. I'm such an old timer in this game, huh? But with it, never mind the fact that family ripped apart and all the rest. Any reserves I did have were all used up very quickly, and the vast majority of it was taken by parasites. People that I thought wanted help, they didn't want help. They just wanted more gimmies. So if there's any disdain I have for any of the free man movement or patriot movements or whatever, that's why. Because to me, they're the same as the archonic parasites, because they still don't know who they are, and they're still in that vengeance mode, and they're not figuring out who they are. And they're caught in the illusion of thinking they're helping somebody by, throwing a gun over their arm and going out and shooting somebody. That's not helping. That's not helping anybody. That's just creating more enemies and more animosity and more negative energy. And the parasites on this planet love it, because that's what they feed on. So I'm very, very careful as to what I feed. And again, I hand out the same contract. This is for benevolent use only. It is purified. It is rarefied air, HEIR, that you are the heir of. If you use it for harm, it's going to come back 1,000-fold on you. Enjoy your 26,000-year round trip. You're coming back. That's why the table's open.
And we keep coming back.
Oh, until you get it.
Okay. All right, Kate. Well, thank you for that. I'm going to close up now. So, you're on again tonight at...
Yeah. Do we have like 2 minutes for? I just want Darren to jump in here. I want you to say hi to him, so I just cracked them open there for you. But Darren, say hi to Paul, and then we'll roll out of here.
Brother Paul, you are.
How are you doing? Are you okay?
I am in affirmation Buzz Lightyear. Holy doodly. Can that guy rattle off affirmations for you?
Oh, it's just a little, eh?
Which guy? Did I talk about any of the guys? All guys. Holy cow! You guys, look at us. Look at this. Wow.
Critical mass has been achieved, Paul. Thank you for setting up the table to do it at.
Many. Holy cow!
It's
I'm a buzz. It's just completely a buzz.
Yeah, that's it, and it's teamwork. We're all in it together, so that's how we move forward.
Yep, absolutely.
Look at the water. Look at the water, folks. What Sevan shared with the water was huge. There's a little bit more to add to it. I look forward to sharing it sometime.
Well, share it tonight. We're on the air in 3 hours, so.
You bet. Just ask me about the water. I can bring you water knowledge.
Tonight's subject is water, brought to you by Darren.
Yay!
All right. Paul, thank you so much, and I just want to thank everybody that showed up, because I know a lot of people, as soon as they got word of this, they were like white on rice to this table. So thanks again, Paul, and I'm signing off, and I'll catch you guys in 3 hours.
Okay, speak to you later, guys. Thank you.
And everybody check in, all you literal people, you want literal water, check in on your Canadian Waters Act or any of the Waters Act around the planet. They'll reveal your truth. See yourself as the water in their laws, and you will see you are unimpedable. What a great show. Thank you.
Take care, guys. Speak to you soon.
Take care, Paul. Take care, Darren. See you tonight.
Ciao, ciao.
Aho.
Okay, guys. Right, we've got only a few more minutes left. Just want to say thank you to Sevan for speaking with us today. It's been a pleasure. A lot of information there. A lot that sort of just came out all in one go, and we're going to have to sit back and go through all that again and really digest a lot that's gone through. There's so much that is happening really at this moment, and I'm quite enthused at the way things are compared to this time last year, when you think people are under some kind of a lull, with regards to energies. Just really someone close to myself. Just want to say a massive, because really at this point I can't really say that the station would be as strong as it is without Rob Freeman. Just a special thank you to everything that you are and that you are doing, and the levels at which you operate on are fantastic. And Rob will be back a week on Wednesday. Basically, we are back tomorrow night with Ben, Emily and Jones, and firstly Kate will be on the 6 o'clock slot. Ben will be followed after 8 o'clock. I might be doing a Wednesday show. On Thursday we have got Yvonne, Stewart, Taylor, 6 till 8. And then we've also got straight after that Truth Dave, all being well. And on Friday, because the holidays with the Good Friday etc. and the bank holiday Monday, there's something about eggs and chocolate and somebody who rose from the dead and scared the living pants out of people because they moved this big stone, and but there's also all these other different meanings. But lots of people go to this brick building and kneel down and stand up, kneel down and stand up, kneel down and stand up, get sciatica and feel good about themselves. Yay! Not for me, each to their own, but yeah, no show on Monday, basically. Gives me a night off is what I'm trying to say, and no shows on this Friday, but we'll be all back full and funky the week after. So I'm exhausted, I've got to say, I'm exhausted. It's been an effort today, but a good effort by all. So thank you all for listening. If you want to support the station, please do so. It's been a great show, and again, please tune in. Don't forget the app, we're 24/7 now. Listening on the app anytime. And also we'll be looking to get they're having a promo done for Critical Mass Radio and the People's Mandate in the next week. We're looking to get that done, and also the Critical Mass Radio YouTube channel, and possibly we are going visually, as in doing a show a week, visual live. We're sort of looking at the UK column type aspect where we can do a visual show and just get more people, because it's something we said we wanted to do from the beginning. So yeah, guys, thank you all for listening. Thank you to Miami for supporting me with this. And yeah, guys, stay true to yourself. Stay true to each other. Be the best you can be, and let's just work on it. You know, we've got a long way to go, but we're all getting there. So I'll play out with Bugsy, and I'll speak to you all soon.
The Critical Mass Show with the new romantic, dandy highwayman, anarchist, Paul Giovanni. Mondays 7 till 9 on Critical Mass Radio. Now it's our turn. You're listening to Critical Mass Radio. Now it's our turn.
People live life on it. We are the fuel for their system vehicle. Without spiritual fuel, they are destroyed. The biggest program that we run into with the masses is their disbelief of their own power and who they truly are. A masterful job has been done to get humanity to this level of spiritual weakness and complete ignorance. This was the intent of corrupting the ancient truths, rewriting our past and presenting this in schools, churches, and all levels of ego academia. Repeat a lie often enough and people will believe it. It is far easier selling a giant lie to the masses than selling us one by one. The media is the main tool of thought direction and manipulation to reinforce the lies we were filled with as children and up to our current state. We have many soulless entities on this planet, with the vast majority being placed in positions of power and control, be it police, courts, media, churches, governments, schools, military, at all levels. Fear is their only tool, and once one sees their true immortal nature, one becomes untouchable, literally. The mass hypnosis of humanity is deep, and you will meet all levels of resistance from friends, family, co-workers, etc., so don't bother trying to wake the consenting to dead. The facts to prove this are all there for all to see, so it is up to them to look, not you. Simply plant a seed and walk away. They're the same as the ones in the allegory of Noah that came to the ark too late. Let them drown. We are now at the culmination of destroying these entities once and for all, and they are pulling out all the fear-porn, illusion, and desperation plugs, and in that process, they're sinking their own ship where I merely hand them a better plug puller now. You and only you can save yourself and no one else, so stop killing yourself trying. Let the dead bury the dead, and perhaps they'll get it on the next pass, but they are not your concern. Stay the course. The path home is the one of truth only and nothing else. Your willingness to stand in truth is yours alone, and to the degree that you stand will be the same degree that you become untouchable spiritually and as a result physically, as above, so below after all. There is no middle ground here. You're either in or out of Babylon. You are either master or slave, mortal or immortal. The soul, you are infinite, where the body is merely a biological computer you operate. Your computer was infiltrated and corrupted, reptilian brainstem fused chromosomes, and separated from the source mind. The soulless ones cannot experience compassion, so don't expect them to. They are the same as the Terminator droids in the movies, programmed to control and kill without remorse, and are easy to spot. They are everywhere, including your own family, friends, etc., and all you have to do is feel your way through. Let your instincts and your heart be your guide. We are clearing this reality of these parasites exponentially now, where universal law reigns supreme, where none shall or can trespass. They are masters of deception, so do not let your loving compassion be used against you, something that has been their most powerful tools. The Bioborg entities are already lifeless and are dependent only on being able to suck the life out of you, but like every vampire, they cannot enter your reality without invitation. Every use of the legal name is the only invitation they need, so best cut your ties and consent with that. Just get this concept, and you've already cut the puppet strings, and your causal ability returns instantly in relation to your ability to be responsible with that ultimate of powers. To the walking dead, and you know what you are, your time is over. Your deceptions are powerless, and now moment by now moment, you are being erased from consciousness for the invading parasites you are. We of the living soul are awake, aware, and reclaiming our reality where yours never existed. In short, yes, you are doomed. Have a nice day. So there you go. I think that spells it out pretty good. So let me get these lines open here. There's Brandon. I got Darren. I got Ninja. I got Michael. I got Janet.
Kate.
Does that nail it or what?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
300 years ago on this island, on this turtle island, there would have been 1,000 braves screaming.
Well, I hear them. We enough yet? I have. Let's play. And if anyone has got any concerns in the system, guys, just fire that off to them. Because if you get the concepts contained within it, you are the living, literal gunpowder in that ready-to-be-thrown grenade. But do not throw it empty. Get the concept, understand what everything in it is. Stand in the truth. Once you get it, then fire that grenade into their trench and watch them scatter in pieces.
Yep, I just fired a bunch of them, so yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so funny the other night. I was sitting outside at night by the library, and I was just tuning into energies and working through a lot of stuff, and this guy walked over, and he was real friendly, and he had a peace pipe, and it was really cool. So he's like, "You want to smoke some medicine?" And I was like, "What?" Because he kind of surprised me, and anyway, he sat.
You're listening to Kate of Gaia on Critical Mass Radio. The game is up. Now, it's our turn.
Hey, good evening and welcome to Outside the Box. Yours truly, Kate of Gaia. which is the spirit of yang yin versus yin yang. Time to flip it from 69 instead of eating each other out, for crying out loud. Let's go back to back on this one, and we got our guards up with 96. Spin it out, babies. Spin it out. I wrote a little piece today, and I don't know how to spit out any simpler. I really don't. And still, be simple, but put enough information in it that will at least get people to have a look. You see, this is the problem. Oh, by the way, I should mention it is Inside the Box, of course, and the voice lower than boobs would indicate for any new listeners. How do you term it? Voice is lower than boobs would indicate. Chick with a dick. I don't care what you call it. I just call it balanced. That's kind of where I live, right? So, gender, tranny, whatever. Who cares? Get the message. Never mind the messenger. You're all distracted. All right. So it makes it a lot more entertaining, I think. But there you have it. Anyway, I can't make it any simpler. I really can't. I don't know what is left to write in regards to this illusion and the dark principalities thereof, and the real game that we're being played by instead of playing. And this is what, guys, I have had, I've been getting hammered. This is how I know the system is shitting itself. And every one of these false contacts that comes in through Facebook requests is an open artery I am feeding all of the reverse into their system. So thank you to all the shills for opening up that main line so that I can get that Trojan horse in and poison you to fucking death with the truth. And that's the joy of this. When you understand what's really going on, look at the desperation of the system and all the getting everybody riled up and fear porn, and it all is sheer and utter desperation of this distraction and that distraction, all in the literal. And there are those of us that, sorry, I'm not playing 3-card Monty with a fucking crook, especially a dead one with no life that is pretending to be consciousness. And that's all it is. So, it's a thought that counts, isn't it? So I'm going to take the thought, all those nasty little thoughts, and just destroy them. I don't care if they're in the form of a meat stick or not. It's irrelevant to me. It's to separate the wheat from the chaff. And considering that we're at a grand or cardinal cross right now, it's almost magical how this stuff just shows up when you need it to. Actually, I knew about that. And this is the fact that the balance of the Trinity is come in. You see it played out in the allegorical, literal world. Yeah, of course, in Dia, in God, right? On Dia, or I would say on Tia, right? Tiamat, right? Let's put it all together. Passed legislation which mimics universal law. Sorry, it's just a mimic. It's a copy of the right, copyright. That's why these bioborgs haven't got an original thought in their heads because, that's a problem when you don't have a soul. You can't create anything. So you don't have any creativity. The only thing you can do is mimic the creativity of others, right? That's the Cain being jealous of Abel kind of thing. So it's just mindless. But anyway, I'm going to read this little thing. Babylon is fallen because it is. And that's the only idea I reinforce. Babylon is fallen. It's not falling down. It's done. I finished this essay. I went outside. Now, what's playing on the TV is that, what's the name of that movie? The one with, what's the group? They use the mask, that guy's mask, all the time. It escapes me. But anyway, it was playing, and I'm watching this character, this masked character with a hat, just slicing and dicing all of the meat sticks, the bioborgs, to the symphony of, I think it's William Tell's Overture. But anyway, just very beautiful, profound moments, And by the way, yes, it's BTR listener 029 for those that want to call into the board direct and save themselves the hassle of going through the blog talk. So if your Skype is open and you will call in, just put BTR listener 029 into your contact search, and when you hit the search, it comes up. Just right-click it and hit call. That'll bring you right to the table. For those that do want to call in, I am going to do the replay of Sevan Paul from the other day. It's 2 hours, so I figured I can go for 45 minutes up to the hour, and then I'll play that. But I'd really like to get as much of that on the airtime as possible anyway, because I really don't have much to say other than what I'm going to be sharing with you guys tonight. And of course, I will get your input as always, because we do this together, right? We don't we don't do this alone. We've been walking alone, all one, separately long enough. Now we're all one. The alone becomes all one as we walk together, shoulder to shoulder. Okay. Not standing behind in front of someone or standing up in front like some egotistical protector. Savior, I'm your savior.
Down, and I was playing one of your songs on Shadow Road, and he's like, Kate of Gaia? And I'm like, yeah, you know Kate of Gaia? And he's like, no, but my friend, and his house is right by the library. And I was like, really? So I was like really excited, and so he's like, yeah, you want to meet him? And I was like, yeah. And so I went over, we talked for a little bit, and we smoked a little, and then I walked in the house, and he introduced me, and his name was Travis. And he said what a lot of us say is, he's like, I don't care what you call me, just don't call me late for dinner. And so I was like, oh, cool. And so then I was like, how do you know Kate? And he's like, oh, I thought you were Kate. because of the big sticker on the back of the truck. So it was funny.
Talk about a rolling garlic ball. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what we need to do? You want to put garlic on your car? Just put a Kate of Gaia sticker. I don't care how big it is. You can just hand draw on one of those labels and stick it on your bumper. Seriously, there's your spiritual garlic. Because I guarantee you, any cop that fucking reads that knows exactly what that is, and they're not going to touch you. I promise you, they will not hear you. If you are connected to me, we stand in this truth. That is who you are. Ka-ti of Ka-iya, the spirit of the law of truth in consciousness, ultraviolet spirit of the yang yin. You are. Go ahead, tell me you're not that.
Yeah, that's it.
So you see, it's not a person. It's not a being. It is a state of being. In the same way that the Christ consciousness is not a man or a woman. It is a state of being. Kate of Kaya is a state of being. It's merely a map reference to match up this voice. That's all it is for me. I stand in that. That's the whole notion, and you guys know this. It's just a coincidence that the initials that I had all worked out into this magically, sort of, kind of wow, Oh, that's funny. So carry on. How was so it was Travis. That obviously wasn't late for dinner. And who was the other?
And then Kate. I forget the other guy's name that came up to me first. He was real sweet. He was born the same year as my daughter in 1982, and he was wanting to go to Mount Shasta, but I didn't have a lot of gas. So anyway, so Travis was telling me that he was researching his ancestors, and I was like, oh, cool, yeah. We talk about that, about rebuilding your DNA strand, and he's like, what else do you guys talk about? And this huge voice came out of me, and I'm like, well, we talk about the name, and if you're using your name unknowingly, you're actually you're sucking off the tits of the whore of Babylon, and your energy, your spiritual energy, is being siphoned away. And he's like, his eyes got so big. He's like, oh, that's deep. And I was like, yep. And I said a few other things I don't remember, but then I got really quiet, and I was like, well, it was really good to meet you, and I'm kind of tired, because then he started talking about some situation. I don't really know what it was, if they were moving in or out, but anyway, I kind of came on really strong, and I guess his spirit called me since he invited me in. I don't know, so I was like tripping on that. I was like, well, I kind of came on kind of strong.
Well, what's the point? There's no point in half mile in it. You might as well, if you're going to swing at a hard ball or a fastball coming at you, you might as well swing for the bleachers,
Yeah, I think his windows were shaking.
Yeah. Jen, I got to tell you, you've got such a sweet giggle. I can only imagine that voice delivering that mind-destroying swing. Up the swing, bada bada bada, home run, ow! Picking up Bioborg meat sticks all over the place.
So it's working. This big sticker's working. People are like, "Oh, that's K to Gaia." I'm like, "Sweet."
Go.
Right. Yep.
Oh, awesome. Well,
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. We're lit up tonight. We got Colleen's in, and 856, I think it's Hassan, if I remember. Randy's in. Everybody's in tonight. So let's go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I've heard a story this week. I'll share it, seeing as tonight's red hot with Babylon having fallen already. How about this then? No registered names in the system. Police come to the door on a peace mission, but they're armed because that's how they do business. They want names and they get none. They look very confused. And they go away again, knowing that there's no name in the system because somebody already get them. But they're not those people, though. So they asked and they got a 0. Not a bit of paper, not a witness statement, not a birth certificate, not a nothing. And they just said, "Thank you, goodbye," and left.
There it is, babies. How many more times we got to have the same story of invincibility, untouchability, absolute system destruction? You kill it at the cop level, you've killed it at every level, because they're the only ones that come in to get the name. Right? Fuck that nonsense. No. We stand together, equal, shoulder to shoulder, soul to soul, connected. Right? So the con of the neck is dead. Neck is Taurus. Con to fool or dupe, deceive someone. So the fooled Taurus creation is dead. Con, neck, dead. Just like that. So now we are connected and connected. It's beautiful. We get our life back. Here's the trick of this, too, and I've had a lot of conversations today with people. I got hammered with calls today. All good, where are we going? Getting this across is so very, very simple, yet it's so very difficult to do. And once you get what is actually going on, and this, hopefully, I've put it in small enough, one essay. This one is about all of it. Okay, it's very short. It's only 3 pages. 45.9 kilobytes. That's 9,981.9. Consciousness. Funny, it's a pure consciousness document. I love how that works out. Not intentional, because nothing ever is. Everything simply is. That's what creation is. But once you get this, and you truly bring yourself home, the true you, understanding that you are all. You're not a name, you're not part of the system, you're not registered, you're not this, that, and the other. All you have to do is this concept. That's why I've been sharing the idea of go to your front door, close it behind you, and get the concept, can you walk away? And the answer better be fucking yes. You don't have to, but it better be yes. Because if it isn't, you better find that string and snip it, Pinocchio. Because until you do, you are a puppet. And you have a puppet master that's pulling your strings. And they love pulling the heartstrings. And the more heartstrings that get pulled and broken, the sooner you get mortally dead. That's how it works. So keep your heart in full accord. Only be the one to play that instrument. That's yours. And no one else can play it. That's your harp. Remember, the symbol of the harp is Ireland, right? So that's the harp that you are playing within yourself. And the 4 chambers of the heart unite here. But yes, in India, the third gender has been recognized through legislation. Isn't that funny? In India, what are they referred to as? Hira, R-I-J-A, the third middle gender. Yes, do some research on that. I did years ago. Trying to prove me wrong. There was something fucking wrong with me. Not funny. But anyway, getting past that. So let me read this quickly. It won't take long. It's only, like I said, 3 pages. Certainly shorter than some of the 9, 10, 11, 12-page ones I've been doing recently. But it had to be today. It just had to be. I just felt that energy. So I'm going to share this with everybody. And you can get, it's Ninja's on the ball as always. It's already up at kateofgaia.wordpress.com. Go to the Kate's Writings page. And the newest edition, the newest baby, Law That Is Mine, Baby Lawn, Baby Lawn, is on the page now. So in this case, I don't really get into the phonics aspect of it. You guys know the trickery, the twisting and the reversing of intention within the words, just based on the sound, changing frequencies. We've covered that enough. So you get the concept of how your words can be twisted, and most people don't even, the vast majority of people don't even realize, right? We already got that. So I kept this one pretty simple. And what I'm going to do is read this. If you want to read along, please feel free. Go to kateofgaia.wordpress.com. It's already posted on Facebook as well. Has been for the last hour or so, as soon as I finished it. And you can also download copies of it there, or just read along. It's on my Facebook page, and it's in the Kate of Gaia discussion group. For those that want to just jump in and hang out with us, and we go over a lot of stuff in the room, lots of great posts. Watching this whole literal Babylon crumble down around its arsehole. We're going to shove it back into its Uranus where it belongs. They want the lower Uranus, they can have the lower Uranus. Good to go. Okay, so that being said, I'll just get into reading, and I'll get, looks like we've got Brandon and Darren waiting on the calls there. So this will only take a few minutes, and then we'll get everybody in. And I do have the Paul, Giovanni, and Sevan Bomar interview from Monday uploaded, ready to go. So I just want to pull it all together tonight, boys and girls. Let's get us and Paul and Sevan and everybody all pouring into the same energy point tonight, because that's all I'm interested in, getting our intention unified and seeing the power. You are seeing it for yourselves. And what a feeling, huh? Gotta love it. So anyway, enough of my rambling. Rambling? Isn't that funny how that works? Aries Taurusing? Rambling? No, it's an astrological joke. It's okay. You'll get it. All right, so Babylon is fallen by us. Oh, well, I use the map reference of Kate of Gaia, but that's us, right? Because any words that were written by me or anybody else, if the concept is shared, then whose words are they? Well, they're yours. Isn't that funny? So there you go. So this is you, writing through me, back to you. Babylon's fallen. 1. Name. The master key to the entire system's or Crown Corporation's game. The name is the linchpin to the entire legal control construct. Without a legal name, which is your consent by agreeing to be said name, the system vampires cannot literally feed on your lifeblood, creation source energy, that is typically shown in the physical materials we collect. It's only consent to be, use, or have a legal name, mark of the beast, that is required for your absolute spiritual contract, deal with the devil motif, to be in full force and effect, with you as a slave and them as master. For proof of this, look and see how much of your life, existence, involves a legal name, and you will see the measure of control the system has over you. 2. Register or registration, etc. Any and all things registered are fully surrendered with consent to the Crown Corporation with no legal recourse until such things are removed by exposing the intent by those who serve the Crown Corporation to commit fraud knowingly or unknowingly. Example, a child that is registered is Crown property by ignorant consent, where the truth of registering was not brought forth, which is the original intent by Crown Corporation servants' owners to have people offer their children unknowingly into slavery of soul and thus body. It's the soul they're really after, so keep that in mind. Money, gold, silver, assets, Bitcoin, etc. are all illusions of value, where you are the true creator of all physical manifestations. Money, external value, has been the tool as the third-party interloper, middleman, that has made draining your power possible. Money or the like only has value if one has been duped into thinking it does. This illusion is the ultimate distraction and destroyer of creator souls, literally. All money is based on the soul contract, commonly known as a birth certificate. 4. Birth certificate. The original sin contract. The name you think or claim as yours is not your creation. Your assumed name was created by your parents, family members, or adoptive kin, not you. This is an original creation manifested by another that is, in turn, registered, thus rendering it Crown Corporation property, as previously stated. It is upon this deception that your literal soul was and is enslaved, and upon which all money and debt is created. A debt bond value was placed in the birth certificate based on the assumed accruement of taxes, loans, debts a child is expected to pay as long as they are part of this fraud upon humanity. Example, if someone is expected to pay a certain amount of taxes, etc. in their lifetime, the bond is given a debt value. A child born into a wealthy family will have a higher debt bond value than someone who is of a lesser perceived income bracket rating. This is slave trading at its finest, which divides and conquers humanity in the serf caste hierarchy system that encompasses the planet. 5. Command and control. The courts and governments are the system's slaves within, bought and paid for, where the true command and control aspects are the police military as the frontline dogs and fear contractors for those above the courts and governments, such as the banks, religions, and those that control them. The courts and governments are merely the filler for this sandwich of deception and the illusion. Without the ability to contract via any or all name at the frontline level, the whole system of control is destroyed. Most importantly, those at the very top of this spiritual slavery pyramid. Without the name, all those above are ultimately annihilated completely. 6. The Triple Crown. This consists of Rome, City of London, Crown Corporation, and Washington, D.C. They are the unholy trinity of the 3-in-1, 1-in-3, as illustrated clearly in the Papal Crown. Religion, to control the beliefs, minds, and spirituality of humanity. Courts and banks to control the money and bonds, and the world police military to quash rebellion and act as frontline contractors of soul extractions. 7. Principality of darkness. This is the true nature of the game, that the vastness of humanity is blind to. Religions have been used to separate you from source, by making one believe God is external, and use the Savior program to reinforce this. Money is the tool that is used to keep people in the physical only realm by getting them to equate an external value on everything, where nothing would exist without the people and their creativity. Physical death and harm is the tool used to clamp down your true essence, which is all creation itself. The tools employed are languages with the corruption of pure frequency intent, with multiple meanings of the same sounds or frequencies, using words and spellings, literally, thus dividing and conquering us and redirecting our energy into their creations and control. These entities cannot create anything, since they are soulless and thus utterly powerless. They know this, and are absolutely terrified, because this spells their doom once and for all. We are life with consciousness, where these entities are consciousness without life, soul, or spirit. They are completely and solely dependent on getting our consent or spiritual contract agreement, and this is easily achieved through the name deception, buying people off, ego comforts, etc. Their whole house of cards, or pyramid, is based on this fact,